Grand Rising, everybody. How you doing? This is Coach Renz, and welcome to what originally wasn't going to be a part two, but we are doing a part two anyway. We are doing a part two anyhow because we didn't get a chance to talk about everything. We didn't get a chance to talk about everything yesterday. Conversation was hot, but I hit my 3 hour mark. I do not go past my 3 hour mark. So we're going to re-engage in this conversation. Yeah, today I want to thank everybody who is already reserved their room. If you go to the uh, go on my Facebook or YouTube, go to the YouTube live section, click on any of the recent lives, and you will see the in the description where you can have come and meet us in San Antonio. We're having a meetup in San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. There's free food, breakfast and dinner. So I look forward to people meeting up with us in October 31st through November 2nd. We're also having a class on August 18th. August 18th, you can go into the description of those videos and you can find a class. If we don't get enough people signed up by Friday, then we're gonna cancel that class. Obviously, you're not interested. But so John, we are going to on Facebook. We're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. We are going to continue our discussion from yesterday because we really didn't even discuss what I wanted to talk about yesterday. We got into so many different tangents so early. But it was great. It was great. We had great, somewhat debates at some points in time. There were too many damn people talking. But we're talking about the failed birth story of Jesus, and how the Jesus so-called birth story demonstrates that the birth story, the contradiction between Matthew and Luke, demonstrates that this Jesus character could not have existed. To hell with the historical. There was a historical person. No, unlike these fearful archaeologists and uh, biblical scholars who are afraid to just state flat out that there was never a historical Jesus. His birth story in itself will demonstrate that there was never a historical Jesus, and I challenge anyone to debate me on that subject matter. But there's never been one. Now, unlike yesterday, I'm not going to have a full board over here and a full board over here. There was too many damn people trying to talk. So we're going to manage this better today. But Jesus, historical Jesus, no historical Jesus. Just the birth story alone. Just the birth story alone demonstrates that there's no historical Jesus. So just to go ahead and usually I wait for about the 5 minute mark to really get deep into the conversation. We're at 3 minutes right now. Uh, we'll be here for the next 2 hours. I am not doing 3 hours today like y'all got me yesterday, but we will see how the conversation goes. Hopefully, we'll be able to demonstrate even through debate or just straight up lecture. Jesus never existed. Jesus of the Bible never existed because he wasn't even born. He could not have been born. If Christians, if people who believe in this Bible think that this Bible is true, that every word of it is true, then Jesus can't be born. So yesterday we talked about a couple other things of the differences between Mark and Matthew. I mean Matthew and Luke, because they are the only two who details out this Jesus's birth story. Uh, we didn't even get into the heredity. We didn't even get into the time frame of the birth. But yesterday we did talk about the fact that um, they give two different narratives for the birth of this Jesus character, right? And that in those two different narratives, we talked about the fact that Matthew has the Jesus character going to Egypt right after he's born. We demonstrated that. Had a Christian come on and try to tell us that, well, no, one thing happened first. First, they went to the Temple of Jerusalem, and then first they went to Egypt, and then they came back. And when they came back, they went to Galilee and so on and so forth. But no, it showed that after 8 days, they went straight to Jerusalem and then to Galilee. Well, they went to Galilee and then back to Nazareth, I should say. And then for the next 12 years, they journeyed to Jerusalem for Passover. There's no Egypt. There's no possible way you can merge Egypt, them going to Egypt, and them going straight to Galilee and then Nazareth, into them doing, into that being one true story. You just can't. It's an impossibility. They did one or they did the other. So somebody's lying. Somebody's not telling the truth. There's a liar, pants on fire going on with that bullshit. So we talked about that. We talked about that yesterday. But there's a lot more things we didn't get to talk about. You know, in the Matthew version, there's the infanticide that was going on with Herod. Nowhere in recorded history, no Roman, you think the Romans wouldn't have recorded a whole infanticide going on? Them killing a whole bunch of Herod, killing a whole bunch of babies, that no one would have done that? Who wrote the Gospels and when they were written? Yeah, the Gospel was written late. The Gospel was written no earlier than 70. No earlier than 70. They all written after 70 CE. And it's they're anonymously written. And in that writing, these jokers talk about the fact that there was a star hovering above the house. That's in Luke. I mean, that's in Matthew. A star hovering above the house. How the hell can a star hover above a house? You can't claim it to be. What do we know in nature? We know stars are too damn big to be on Earth. So even if they mistaken it for a asteroid, we know asteroids don't stand still. There is absolutely no way, unless they had a helicopter back then, that a star hovered above the house. Can't happen. And to Luke, it was the stars out the star was out there where the shepherds was looking at it. So they need to make up their mind. No, I'm not Christian, CJ. Not Christian at all. And not a believer in the Bible either. So there are just differences in the two stories, and the two stories can't be right. Was it 3 wise men, or however number of many wise men? It never says 3. Was it just the shepherd boys? Was he born in the house or born in the manger? Now that one you can kind of fiddle with, because the manger is at the bottom of the house. It's like a basement of the house. So you can fiddle around with that one. I'll let them have that one. But there is one big issue, other than the fact of where they went after the birth, because you still got Jesus being born. Conversations about Egypt, or if they was went to Galilee and Nazareth, okay. But the time frame of Jesus being born has to be the same, right? I mean, that's what they tell you. They tell you when you go to churches, when you do see the little Christmas plays and whatnot, they're always showing you and teaching you that, oh, there was a census that was being called on by Titus. And the governor, Quirinius, had to come down and into Judea and perform this census. And everybody had to return to their ancestral home in order to participate in this census. Well, it's a couple of problems with that. One, there's never been a census where everybody had to return to their ancestral home. That's the first big problem. But the other thing about that is that the census of Quirinius that occurred in Judea, that happened in 6 CE. 6 CE. So Jesus then would have had to been born in 6 CE if the story is that the story is that they had to travel to Bethlehem in order to have this baby, in order to be counted in the census, rather than they have the baby. What's up, peoples? So if I have any believers on here, if I have any believers on here, I already answered some of your questions, dude. You haven't asked any question that I need to answer. I ain't saying nothing about celebrating around the solstice. What the hell are you talking about? Don't throw stones and hide your hand, my guy. Or are you talking to that dude? Okay, let me pay attention to what I'm talking about. Anyway, he may not even be talking to me. If you're not talking to me, my apologies. So, if I have any Christians on, anybody believers on here, right? According to your Bible, according to Luke, Jesus had to have been born in 6 CE. And I want to know if there's any believers on here, would you agree to that? Would you agree to that? And while you are making your statement, I can light my damn cigar. Jericho Walker. CJ says he agreed with me. He was born in 6 CE. There's a problem with that. Jericho Walker on Facebook. So I'm on TikTok, and then over here I'm on YouTube and Facebook. Wait, there's never been a census, so you live in that time, or you are performing systematic racism. Jericho, what the hell are you talking about? And yes, there have been many censuses taken throughout the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire. Even your Bible has David getting in trouble for taking a census, or somebody like that. What? That's why I don't pay attention to some of these people. All right, so I do feel that there's evidence for historical Jesus, but I do feel the Gospels have been corrupted. Okay, so a historical Jesus, then if he was born during the time frame of a census, according to Luke, then that would place the birth of Jesus in 6 CE, because that is when it is recorded that a census was done by Quirinius, governor of Syria, down in Judea. He was doing this because Herod Antipas had been kicked out of office for acting a fool. And so that's when the census was done. But according to Luke, Luke says that Jesus was born during the time frame of Herod the Great, and that the reason why they had to run to Egypt is because Herod was told of the prophecy about the Magi, and that a new king will be born, and Herod wanted to kill him, and that's where the fake infanticide comes. I call it infanticide. Infanticide happened. Herod died no later than 4 BCE. You hear that, CJ? 4 BCE. Quirinius census 6 CE. Herod died no later than 4 BCE. So if that's the case, Jesus can't have been born. I mean, either you've got to pick one or the other, but when you pick one or the other, then you have to say the whole entirety of the other book has to be thrown away. I don't agree with Gregorian or Julian calendar changes like time in meridian and daylight saving. So no, I'll pass. That the differences of the calendars have nothing to do with this. You can just look at this is Jericho over here on Facebook. Here's the thing: even without a calendar, even without the Gregorian calendar, without the any of those things, your Julian calendars, Jericho, it's just simply looking at the fact that the census conducted based on the records, Roman records of Quirinius, happened in 6 CE because of Herod Antipas. The Herod the Great, according to Judean records, according to Roman records, he died no later than 4 BCE. So even the reason for the the census wasn't even for Herod the Great. It was for one of his grandkids or kid. Now, this is a kid or grandkid. I think it's kid. It was for one of them. So it didn't even have nothing to do with Herod the Great. So your calendar, oh, I don't trust the calendar. That has nothing to do with nothing. Has nothing to do with nothing. Not being born at the time according to the Gospels, but born. If you can't get the birth right, then how do you know he's born? CJ, I mean, unless you just want to believe, unless you have confirmation bias, but if you can't get the birth right, and then when you look at the two heredities, you can't get the heritage right. Joseph, we just started at the very beginning. We didn't gotta go through the whole list. In Matthew, Joseph's father is different than in Luke, who Joseph's father is. One line goes through Solomon, the other line goes through Nathan. You can't go through the two lines and end up with the same person and have Joseph. Either his dad is Heli, or shit, I forgot the other name. To the reality of history. Oh man, oh, and by the way, if any believer wants to come on here and speak, you are more than welcome to. I want to hear from some more believers today than because I want people to hear the bullshit that people do. Are there sources outside the Bible? There are no sources outside the Bible that validates Jesus, if that's what you was asking, CJ. Why don't y'all ever deconstruct the Quran? Because I was not born and raised in Islam. So I don't care about the Quran. There are other people who do that one. That is one of the worst arguments to me. Why y'all talk about Christian? Why do? There are plenty of people talking about the Quran. What is all this? I'm just gonna read the first part. The difference between Matthew and Luke are not contradictions, but rather complementary perspectives, literary emphasis, and differences in narrative focus. My guy, George Stoudemire. I can agree with you on certain things, but one person got Jesus being born in 6 CE, the other person got Jesus being born in 4 BCE. One person got Jesus going directly to Egypt, one person got Jesus going directly to Galilee, and then to, what's that other place? Nazareth. Those are just straight up contradictions. That's not a difference. That's not a emphasizing difference, my guy. That's just straight up contradictions. So you're looking for cheerleaders. Okay, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. You're looking for cheerleaders. Tacitus, CJ Tacitus is a Roman historian who was under the propaganda of the Flavians, I might add, who was writing about what people believed. Writing about what people believe does not necessarily make it where it is true. If I wrote about the fact that there were people today who still worship Thor, am I writing? Do I have knowledge that Thor works? I mean, Thor is real. And that is why I said that he was a propagandist for Nero. I mean, for the Flavians. You said he described persecutions of Christians by Nero. It has come to be that all of those things that Tacitus was writing was propaganda. Nero never burned Christians as torches. He blamed Christians, yes, but he never for the fire of Rome. But he never. Let me rephrase that. That is even under question right now of whether or not he actually blamed Christians as well. But the whole thing about Nero playing the fiddle on why the Rome burned, that he lit Christians as torches and that sort of thing, All of that has been found to be false. Nero was actually he wasn't in Rome at first when the fire started, came to Rome, and then was organizing to get the fire out, and was making his garden available for people whose houses had been burned. He never did the things that Tacitus was talking about. I ain't saying Nero was a good guy, but even a bad person doesn't deserve to be lied upon. So, yeah, no. Hey, Peaceful Storm. Thank you, Peaceful Storm. You know what I'm talking about. What are your thoughts on Christians who say that there are no contradictions in the Bible? This is what Stephanie is writing. What are my thoughts on people who say there are no contradiction in the Bible? That they haven't read their Bible. And that if they have read the Bible, then they have confirmation bias, which does not allow for them to see the contradictions, right? And they have conscious dissonance, which doesn't allow them to see it. Confirmation bias is just finding information that fits your narrative, but they just don't want to see it, and so you would have to literally just turn a blind eye to it to say that there's none. Suetonius accounts for Jesus in the lives of the Caesars, but he's again writing. Suetonius is not writing at the time frame of Jesus. So in order for Suetonius is just writing that people believed in this Jesus, that in this character of Jesus. Suetonius is not writing that he knew of this Jesus existed, right? This is why when you see what you won't see in any of Suetonius's writing is where is he getting this information from, other than the people surrounding him. If you were to, if you write a history book today, you have to write that history book or biography. Let me put it that way. Biography today, you have to cite where you're getting your resources from. And then if your resources didn't know the man or wasn't alive during that time frame, then you have to cite where they're getting their resources from, and it has to come from a time frame that the person was alive. No one wrote about Jesus who was around at the time frame of Jesus. No one who met Jesus was around. They don't have that information. Now, Luke claims that he was gaining his information from the people who was around Jesus. He claims that, but there's no resources that demonstrate that those people actually were alive, that those people did what they did, said what they said, or anything else. And the Jesus character writes nothing. And I don't know why Jericho is so hung up on a calendar date and timeline. That the Chinese calendar ain't got nothing to do with the Roman calendar that was in effect before and after Jesus. They ain't got nothing to do with that. And then the Bible just contradictory. He gonna say the only contradictions are additions and subtractions the translator made for language and grammar. There is during the census, during Herod the Great, Herod Antipas during the census, Herod the Great during his time frame. That's just a contradiction. They went down to Egypt, they went to Galilee, and then to Nazareth. Just a contradiction. There's no way around it. Okay, so you got to name some people. If you're going to use something, you got to use people, CJ, who were alive during Jesus or was able to verify that they talked to people during the time frame of Jesus. I mean, I can just claim Matthew and Luke, nor Luke was white. I don't care. That don't matter to me. This is just an easy picture that I found. If you're so, I'm not caught up in the color. I recognize that we've had to fight racial injustices, but yo, and then actually, Peaceful Storm, this brings up a whole nother problem with the story. Can you reconcile the 2 years of Herod and the wise men, Magi? So when these Magi who came from the east, supposedly because they saw a sign and they followed a star in the east. Now, there's ways of following stars when you navigate land masses. I get that part. So that part is fine. Now, it doesn't say that they were in the east, but they were from the east. So they could have been anywhere in the old Roman world at that time frame. But these Magi supposedly followed this star, and they was looking for a baby. They knew that this baby could have been born within a 2 to 3 year time span of them seeing the sign. So they were looking for a toddler down to an infant. And in looking for that, they came, and like how we talked so many times about this, we were talking about the story of Sodom last week. I mean, a week or so ago, or no, Monday. No. They went to Herod, as they should, because that's what the custom is, to go to the leader of the town or the area and present yourself. They told Herod about it, and then that's why but they knew Herod would try to kill him, according to the story. And so they then were going to look for that star again, and that's where it get a little wonky, because now the star is hovering above a house, and that's an impossibility. That just doesn't happen. Unless God had a magic helicopter or something, it wasn't gonna happen. But the 2 year difference is because of the time frame it took for them to travel. I mean, it could have taken them a year, could have taken them only months, but also because it talked about a child being born in the house of bread at that time frame, but it didn't give an age. I hope that answers your question. See, this is when you know that that Christian love ain't no hate like Christian love. I got a name call first. That's my point. 2022 has changed in the European calendar. Other groups of people changed their calendars to obey European enlightenment. Something's wrong with you, European Negro, or something. That's his point. Your point is pointless. Your point is a point of ignorance. Because your point is that, I'm saying that either he was born in that Herod died no later than 4 BCE. Quirinius conducted his census in 6 CE. Whether or not it's the Julian calendar or any other calendar, the fact still remains. Quirinius went up there for Herod after Herod Antipas, who is not Herod the Great. 2 totally different people. So your calendar don't matter, dumbass. Your calendar don't matter because you're stupid. And I normally don't call people names, but when you want to call me a name, you're going to get back the same thing. Oh, lover of the Bible. Oh, turn the other cheek and love your enemies. For these people to claim that they believe in this book, they certainly demonstrate the worst behavior. They claim that people like me don't want to believe in this book because we want to go out and sin. No, I think that believers actually hold on tight to this book because it allows for them to go out and do all the jacked up shit they want to do, but then have a safety net. So I think the real people who just want to sin are the ones who are steadfast on holding on to this book so that they can sin and have their human sacrifice to make them feel better. Because y'all be tripping. Y'all be, I don't know what the hell. They get so upset. And like Fred is another one. All Fred can do is call names, do name calling. Were the ancient critics who were skeptical about his existence? Yeah. This is why some of the people mocked the idea of Jesus. because they thought that it was some bull. They mocked the idea of him dying for their sins and all that. Just like today, if you people mock the Scientologists, any new religion that comes up, people are going to mock it. Just like a lot of people mock EFI. It's not new, but it's growing. People mock it. Because they were Paulinian Christians, not Christ-like. I don't think they would even know how to be. And they have to be, the reason they have to be Paulinian Christians, Randall, is because they don't want to follow the law. You see, to follow Jesus means that you got to follow the law. And they don't want to do that. Now, Paul is the one who tells them that they don't have to follow the law. But if they follow that Jesus character, they got to follow the law. Now, that wouldn't be a contradiction between who am I looking at? Matthew and Luke. That would just be between the teachings of Jesus and Paul. But they don't want to do that. No. If they had to follow that, that'd be a whole bunch of mess. I would love to see Christians actually follow the law. It's a lot of gray. I don't get answers coming from someone who deconstructed but wants to believe again. Oh, I don't know who you're talking about. My God, you're talking to me. I don't get the answers coming from someone who deconstructed, because you can't be talking to me, because I don't want to be a believer again. I think it's an impossibility for me to ever be a believer again. See, this is dumb. Fred said, debate West Huff and stop running, okay? Maybe West is running for me, because I sent the invite and he never wants to. He don't want to be a part of the shout. Well, he just ignores it, so I ain't gonna say what he wants. Maybe he never even seen it. I don't know. I don't know the man. But it's funny to me. People like Fred, they want me to debate certain people, but yet they are afraid themselves to come onto the show. Why do you need to? Why can't you do it yourself? Here's one of the things about when I was a Christian, right? I didn't need somebody else to advocate for me. I went and studied so I can advocate for myself. And the more and more I studied, and this will answer your question, Hannah, the more and more I studied, the more and more I realized that this religion is not a true religion, that it's filled with contradictions, it's filled with lies, that it was created by man, and that this God doesn't exist. And then it was a point where I had to say, even if this God did exist, I would not worship this God. I would rather face anything else than worship the God of the Bible. Now, most people focus on just the Jesus character, but even the Jesus character, I wouldn't want to worship him, right? The Jesus character still advocates or condones slavery, still condones the mistreatment of women. No, the Jesus character can kick rocks as well. The Jesus character also, with all that turn the other cheek and love your enemy, has made it where black people are still oppressed people, period. Let me not just put that on black people. Oppressed people are still in the worst situations because of following and believing in this Jesus character. So no. And Yahweh, and Jesus and Yahweh supposed to be one. Yahweh, hell no. That genocidal, narcissistic maniac, no. And any God that requires worship is not a God in the first place, because a true God would not require or need anything. So nah, there's no way. But it was through study. It was through study that I walked away from this religion. Ah, damn, Jericho, I thought you left with that, your ignorance. They always lying. See, like when I say I'm gonna close the show, I close the show. Do you follow West Huff? Nope. If West Huff just pop up on my screens on my Facebook and YouTube sometime, but I don't follow him. Yes, I know you don't like my cigar TikTok. Talking about the app, not you guys. I don't follow West Huff. West Huff is somebody who's barely studied. I mean, I ain't gonna say barely studied. He studied more than most people. But when it comes to, he's an apologist. I wouldn't follow an apologist because apologists already have a predetermined landing spot for their information. For me, you have to be open to being wrong. And that's the greatest thing that I like about atheists and agnostics. And I will put myself in the agnostic category, is that I'm open to wherever the information leads me. I don't have a predetermined landing spot. Your boy tagged me, that's why I returned. You ain't have to return, you can ignore it. It's simple, just ignore it. And see, this is the ignorance that we perpetuate today in the Black community, is that if you don't agree with me, then you're using European enlightenment, not even realizing that the overwhelming majority of what you call European enlightenment, since you want to be racial about it, comes from the North African region, comes from the Egyptian mindset of Hermetics, is what reopened, which is the basis rather of European enlightenment. But see, you're so race-based now in your present and filled with that hatred of that you have to make anybody who disagrees with you, any information that disagrees, you have to make it European enlightenment. And depending upon where you live, Jericho Walker, and I'm trying to help you out, dude, trying to help you out. Depending upon where you live, much of your life is based on Western culture. So unless you're living in Africa, but you living in an African village town and holding on to the culture that they had before colonization, your ass is living your life based on Western culture. If you are in the bank, if you got a bank account, your ass is living based on Western culture. You drive a damn car on the highways and byways, you going with the Europeans. If you got a job, you in the Western culture. I love when I'm so black that I'm blacker than black because I'm black, y'all, and I'm black. But yet, them motherfuckers are living just as they living a life. I don't see them going back to live. His ass ain't moved back to Chad. You ain't moved to Senegal. He ain't doing none of that. He said, which African is destroying Africans today? You know, Africans do have wars against one another, right? You do know that shit happens. You know, the Ivory Coast did try to attack Burkina Faso, right? A couple weeks ago. A couple months ago. Ivory Coast attacked Burkina Faso, you know. Oh man, they be killing me. They kill me with I'm just gonna be so black that I'm blacker than black because I'm black, without even realizing their own bullshit. Let's get some conversation going on today.
Hello, sir.
Justin, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. How old are you, Justin?
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
You're a Christian? Okay. And how old are you?
Yeah. I've been a Christian since I was born.
How old are you now? It's for TikTok purposes.
Sorry.
You have to be an adult to talk
19.
to me. Huh?
I'm 19. I'm
okay.
19 years old.
You're 19. All right. What did you want to say, Justin?
Okay, so I was scrolling through TikTok, then I saw something like Matthew versus Luke, who's right, who's wrong. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what do you mean by who's right and who's wrong?
So in the birth narrative of the Jesus character, both Luke and Matthew have multiple contradictions with each other. From the time frame that Jesus character would have been born, to the father of Joseph, to the where did Jesus go after he was born? Who visited? Was there a star above the house or a star out in the fields with the shepherds? There are multiple contradictions that the stories don't fit.
Okay. I just wanted you, if you don't mind, to show me the contradictions.
Okay.
Yeah, just the verse. I can pull it up quickly as well.
I'm sorry, what was that? Just the what?
Oh, I was asking about the contradictions, the verse you're talking about.
So
Yeah. Can you show me the contradiction?
so you want me to show you the verse? I have to look up the actual verses.
Okay.
But you're pretty much in. So in Luke chapter 2.
Luke chapter 2.
Yeah. So in Luke chapter 2.
Chapter.
All right.
And the verse? Yeah, Luke chapter 2, verse what?
I mean, so let's see, which contradiction we're going to talk about. We're going to do the easy contradiction, the easiest one to point out here. But in Luke chapter 2, if you go down to verse, where does it start? All right, so if you go down to verse 22, well, verse 21.
Verse
21. Well, when the 8th day came, so this is the 8th day after being born. When the 8th day came, it was time to circumcise the child, and he was called Jesus, and the name was given, the name given by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. When the time came for their purification according to the law of Moses, they brought him up to Jerusalem and presented him to the Lord, as it is written in the law of the Lord. Every firstborn male shall be designated as holy to the Lord. And they offered a sacrifice according to what was stated by the law of the Lord, a pair of turtle doves or 2 pigeons. Now now it gets into about that there was a man named Simeon and he was devout. Now, so can we agree that on the 8th day after Jesus was born, they took him to Jerusalem so that Mary can be purified by sacrificing the 2 turtle doves or pigeons, right?
Yeah.
And then when we get down to verse 39, because there's a whole conversation with Simeon and then with Anna. All of this is happening at the temple in Jerusalem. There's no time dilation here. And in verse 39, it says, when they had finished everything required by the law, they returned to Galilee, to their own town of Nazareth. The child grew and became strong and filled with the wisdom and the favor of God was upon him, right?
Yeah.
So how can that be true? But in Matthew, the angel comes and tells them while they're in the manger to go to Egypt until Herod dies.
Okay. I understand your point.
So is that a contradiction?
Do you mind showing me the verse you're talking about in that?
Showing you what? Showing you the Matthew version? let's find that one real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, hold on. In the Matthew version, oh shit, my bad. Wait a minute, I hit the wrong button. Sorry. Give me. So Matthew. So in Matthew chapter 1, verse 18 starts with the birth of Jesus. Where but I want to get to the Egypt part. That's the whole thing about him being righteous, telling them that he needs to marry the virgin, that she's got a baby. Now, it says that in the time of King Herod, after Jesus, this is Matthew chapter 2. And I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to answer another question that was asked earlier with this. When you get down to verse 13 of chapter 2.
Verse 13, chapter 2.
It says, now after he had left, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, get up and take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt and remain there until I tell you, for Herod is about to search for a child to destroy him. Then Joseph got up, took the child and his mother by night and went to Egypt and remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophets, out of Egypt I have called upon him. I have called my son, sorry. Now, if you just read that alone, you would think, okay, that's not really a contradiction. Well, that could have happened after they had went to Jerusalem, and then after they went to Galilee, and then to Nazareth, right?
Yeah.
But the only problem with that is that when you read it in its full context, starting in chapter 2, in the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed the star in the east and have come to pay him homage. King Herod heard this, and he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together the chief priests and scribes and the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was born. He told them, in Bethlehem in Judea. For so it has been written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are by no means least among the rulers of Judea. And for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod secretly called the Magi and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, go and search diligently for the child. And when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also pay homage. When they had heard this, the kings then set out, and there ahead of them went the star that had led them to the east until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw where the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy and entered the house and saw the child with Mary and his mother and knelt down and paid homage. Then opening the treasure chest, offering him gifts and so on and so forth. So where did the Magi go and see the baby Jesus? In Matthew 22. Whether people try to say the child, he was 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, where did they go and see Jesus, the Magi? You remember? Justin? Still there, Justin? I mean, Justin's still there, y'all, but okay. So if you was listening, the story is saying in Matthew that Jesus, that the Magi came to see, and I know Peaceful Storm asked about the 2-year dilation. I forgot to add this part to it. The story would still be in contradiction, even if they had been in Bethlehem for 2 years, because that's not what Luke says. Luke says that after 8 days, they went to Jerusalem, then they went to Galilee into Nazareth. In this version, the Matthew version, they're still in Bethlehem. Jesus is still, he a baby. And they went straight to Egypt. No Jerusalem, no cleansing, no turtle doves, none of that. He said the angel came and talked to him and woke his ass up, and he picked up his family and went and fled. Now, that's just a straight contradiction. I don't see how anybody cannot read that and not read those two together and not recognize that one person is lying. And then there are so many other lies within it, so many other contradictions within it. Matthew is saying it is happening during the time frame of Herod. Luke's time frame has to be during the time frame of around Herod Antipas. Herod has already been dead for at least 10 years. So was he born 10 years prior or 10 years after? You can't, it's undeniable contradictions. Did the star hover above the house, or was the star out there in the field with the shepherds? Which one is it? And I know when I was reading, I wasn't seeing you guys' comments because I had that up on my screen. So when somebody had asked me, those were the kind of things that I came upon when I was actually studying the Bible. See, when people tell me they read their Bible every day or they study their Bible every day, if you ain't comparing the narratives, you're not studying. You're not studying. Okay, the Magi went to a house, not the manger. That's a slight contradiction, but it's not really a contradiction, Peaceful Storm. So I didn't learn this until I went to Israel, to be honest. So I ain't learned this to 1991. But the way that they built their houses, they had their rooftops. Then you had the main house. And then under the house, you had your mangers for the small animals to be kept in. So the whole of the house has those three main ideas to it. A rooftop, when they did a lot of cooking on the rooftops and things of this nature. And then your main part of your house where you actually live and sleep. And then the mangers where you kept your small animals, which is considered an unclean place. So when there was no room in the inn, and an inn is not a Holiday Inn, it's a house. The family house, your main family house, is considered an inn. So manger, house is just different parts of the house. It's like saying, I went to your house, and then the other person said, yeah, I went to Peaceful Storm's basement. They're still in the house. Herod called for the death of all the boys 2 years and under, which means that there was a 2-year passing since he saw. I'm not gonna. It could have been. That's what the 2 years that you're thinking about. I can get with that because the Magi did cut out and didn't go back and tell Herod nothing. But also because Herod didn't know how old or when this baby was born. So just to hedge his bets, let me kill all the kids of a certain age. Man, my sunburn is starting to look funny. I was riding a motorcycle for 12 days in the sun. And then it's starting to look crazy. Oh, well. No, the inn is not like a bed and breakfast, Dwayne. That was foolishness. It was, no, your family home. Like, so we have a main family house in Atlanta. That's my grandparents' house. That would be considered the inn for our family. But, you know, it's still just a house. Crazy how there's no historical evidence for that. For what? But there's no historical evidence for Jesus. No. Chris said he spent 8 minutes. Nah, it took 10 good days of riding a motorcycle from San Antonio to Spokane to get this sunburn. So I got that heavy melanin. It takes a lot. Okay, Pubis Varnus was the governor of Syria from 7 BCE to 4 BCE. Quirinius was involved in the war of Turkey from 12 BCE to 1 BCE. Varnus was the governor of Syria while King Herod was alive. This is absolutely correct from what we know of the records. And Quirinius, he didn't become governor of Syria until much later, which is when he conducted his census in Judea. So there's no way that Quirinius would have been down in Judea conducting a census during the time frame of Herod. Do I think the Bible is a myth? Yep. It's a myth. It's a book. It's a storybook to create a history for people. When you're looking at the Old Testament, it's a storybook creating a history for people who have separated themselves from Canaanites. And then the New Testament is just a Romanized version of Judaism in order to subjugate the people. He was literally trying to get rid of Judaism. Oh, no evidence for the firstborn killings in Egypt. That's because the Exodus story is just made up. The Exodus story is just a complete made up story. Bro, you can't smoke on. Actually, I can smoke on TikTok. It restricts. Like you can't see it, but on my screen it shows that I have a restriction. So what it won't do is allow anybody under the age of 21, I believe, or 18 or something like that, to be able to see the show. And then every now and then it's gonna make me do this little thing to keep the live going. But we have people. I have a cigar channel on TikTok, so. This is a popular statement, Janice on TikTok said, yes, I believe that too, but why did they remove other books from the Bible? This is a misnomer that I really wish people would have a better understanding of. So hopefully we'll get that right now. They did not remove books from the Bible. In order to understand that, you have to understand the canonization of the Bible. So in 325, the Bible was not canonized. Voltaire lied when he said that they canonized the Bible in 325. But the Bible wasn't canonized until about 50 years after, not 40, 50 years. Yeah, about 40 years after the Council of Nicaea. When it was canonized, most of it was the accepted list really came from Athanasius of who was the bishop of Alexandria, Egypt. The books of Enoch, the Gospel of Thomas, any of the Gnostic writings, the Shepherd of Hamas, none of those was on Athanasius' list. So none of them were in the original, the first canon by what would be the Roman Church, based on which is what the Bibles that you have today is based off of. So those books were never in the Bible for them to be taken out. Now, there were other canons that other people had put together, like Marcion put together his own canon. The Ethiopians who were who were converted over to Christianity by Frumentius, who was from Egypt, an Egyptian, from the Coptic Church in Egypt, he converted them over in 330. So their canon was different because during that time frame, Athanasius' list hasn't been canonized yet. So Frumentius must obviously just brought them all kinds of scrolls in order to convert them over. And so that's why theirs is different. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. What did I do? Oh, hell. I did something. I'm sorry, TikTok. I don't know what I did, but I did something. But that's how they did that one. Now, wasn't thinking out. Let me see something here. I'm looking for something. I don't know if I'm gonna find it. I can't find it. I was sent to some my somewhat moderators try to send me a comment that they want me to respond to, but I don't see it. I may not see it. All right, let's get a couple more people on here. I'm not trying to bring a bunch of people at the same time, so don't get mad if you're in the waiting in queue for a minute. Miss Fifi. Hello, Miss Fifi. Miss Fifi. She sleep. Yeah. Miss Fifi fell asleep.
No, I stepped away.
Oh, I thought you were asleep. It was some sleeping sounds coming.
No. I've been listening to you. Sometimes the conversation deviates from the subject.
Quite often.
I get kind of disturbed by that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Slim Bowman said he is snoring. Well, it seems like I'm the only one up in the panel.
No, yes, you are. It might have just been some background noise that was going in and out, so it just made that similar sound more than likely.
Yeah, but deconstructing these things, oh my goodness, it is very difficult for someone to let go, simply because they have, made their world around just that and nothing else. That's how they've related to people and community, job, with that. And so if you deviate from that, that means that you're out of the circle. And, some people don't like to be out of the circle. Yeah. It's very uncomfortable out of the circle because you don't have anyone except yourself to depend on. Now, in the Bible, it says, work out your own salvation.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that you have to know for yourself what you're doing. Is it right or is it wrong for humanity? I mean, it could be just as simple as that. But if you want to put yourself away and let somebody enter into your body because you can't do it for yourself, oh my goodness, that sounds like, the body snatchers.
Now, when you say letting someone in, who are you talking about? How they say they let the Holy Spirit in, or how they say they demons come in?
Well, you know what? I don't think people are spiritually strong enough to know who they let in. But
You know what? If I did believe in Holy Spirits and demons, then I would agree with you 100% that most people are so weak that they wouldn't know what's coming in.
mm-hmm.
And they would try to judge it by the fruit of what happens, but in most cases, everything that you do is relatively subjective. What might be good to what one person might view what you're doing as good, another person view what you're doing as bad. You know, there are people who look at my shows and say that I'm possessed by the devil, while there are others who are grateful and benefit from it. So who's to say?
Well, who's to say? I mean, you have to have it. I mean, I don't think you're trying to stop people from believing what they believe in, but a way of looking at it and saying, hey, I really do believe this.
Mm-hmm. You know, Miss Fifi, I often ask people, people who are believers, why do you even come here? You know, and let me put that in context. The ones who come and they're angry and all they do is name call and that sort of thing. Now, the ones who are polite and just want to have general conversation, that's fine. Those who want to maybe see where they can learn a thing or two, or to see what they need to get stronger with their own debates, I can understand those people. But the ones who get angry and they want to yell and call your name, I don't understand why they keep showing up. Like, why are you here? Because I clearly
they're angry because you have challenged their belief.
This is true, and I realize that
you have exposed them.
But when I see people who I don't like, you know what I don't do? I don't go on their page. I just keep going, or I block them. I don't.
Well,
I don't
it
deal
seems
with
like
them.
you would do that, but you know,
Yeah,
they're wrestling.
and they often are the worst ones. Uh, they think that they are holy, but yet they are the most angry, want casting curses, doing their little witchcraft of casting curses on you, and all kinds of stuff.
Wow, I hope you prayed up.
Yeah. They always doing that. They do. They be like, "You're going to hell. Your hair gonna fall out, or you know, terrible things are gonna happen to you, and all this stuff." I'm like, "What? I thought you were supposed to be the turn the other cheek and pray for your enemy kind of person."
Mm-hmm.
Because I would be their enemy, right?
Right. Somebody wrote, yes, that's body evasion. Spiritually.
Body invasion, spiritually. Yeah, that's pretty much. If you're saying that um, you got spirits, outside spirits coming in and dwelling in your body, then yeah, that's a body snatcher. That's an invasion of your body. And you have to be willing to allow that in there. Now, what's funny to me is this Holy Spirit is supposed to be part of this Trinity of this God, of the God of the Bible. Yet the God of the Bible is one who condones and perpetuates slavery, genocide, the no rights for women, the alienation of other people. And if that's the spirit is from that God, then that's the spirit that people is allowing within them. And that I don't understand, because they want to think that their God is a good God. But when you really look at the character of this God throughout this story, it's not.
Hello, how you doing?
Doing all right.
How y'all doing today?
Doing well.
I'm doing fine.
Hey, I was gonna say, sir, you're not lying, sir. Sir, that book is nothing but folklore. Our people, the thing that's wrong with our people are not correlating this Bible with being evil. With this, that Bible is wicked. It was written by man, both versions, the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Oh, most assuredly, it is written by man.
Nothing has power over you unless you give it power. So we're giving these Europeans our power by us worshiping their wicked, evil Jesus Christ. You feel me? The Holy Trinity. It was never that Holy Trinity is some fucking child molester shit. The Father, the Spirit, and the Holy Ghost is some shit. It was never like that. It was mother for woman and child. You feel me? And African spirituality. You know, this shit was beaten and raped into us, dog. We need to fucking burn down every fucking church in the black neighborhood. I swear to God. That's the only way we gonna get back righteous.
Well, let's burn it down metaphorically.
On every corner.
Let's burn it down metaphorically. Let's not burn it down literally.
Church on Sunday. They used to go to church on Sunday, praise Jesus Christ right after church Sunday church services. Have them a picnic. Pick a nigga to hang. Thousands of them used to sit around and burn, lynch, and castrate a black man. Slice a black woman's stomach open and stomp on the baby head. Right after worshiping Jesus Christ. So you wonder why after church, grandma cussing. Right after church. There's nothing good about this, both of these.
You keep going in and out.
Religion that African people should not practice at all.
No, I agree with you 100%. I don't think that anybody should be. Actually, I don't even think Europeans should be practicing Christianity. It's not their religion either. It's
doing something for them. You feel me? Because we're giving these people, we're unknowingly giving these people our power by us worshiping this evil, demonic fucking religion.
Well, every religion does that when you really look at it.
Yeah, it does.
So whether it's the European version of a Levantian religion, which that's what it is, is whether it is the ancient Kemetic religion, or it's the Islamic religion, the Arab religion of Islam. Anybody who is in control of the religion is going to oppress somebody.
Yeah.
So religion in its totality, even in the days of, and I can only speak for my ancestors, coming out of Nigeria and Senegal, Mali area, they practiced religions that was oppressive to the majority of their own people. Religion in itself is oppressive.
Yeah.
So
as black people, we suffer from Stockholm syndrome. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
We suffer from Stockholm syndrome. We really are a bad case of Stockholm syndrome when it comes down to this fucking religion. It's very like the last time I went to church, sir, it was so fucking cringeworthy. I was like, because I opened my eyes to the theatrics of these people. Like they were like, basically it was theatrics. It was all the act. Father God said, pay us your tithes and he gonna bless you. You feel me? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's all theatrics. All it is a big show. You feel me? To get you to pay tithes every Sunday, which they don't do anything to help the community.
Yeah, we have the community certainly has been brainwashed into this religion, and can't seem to let it go. It's going to really what it's going to take is women to stop following this religion. If women stop following this religion, then we'll see the end of this religion.
That's why our women don't. That's why our women don't understand why they don't be loyal to us. Why, you feel me? Why a lot of women do look down on us. Why?
Now, some of that is our own damn fault.
The rebellion in America was ever successful. Nah, but you have to understand this here. This book, this evil book that everybody worships, that everybody takes as a God's word, is the reason why we're still in captivity. The Haitians, the reason why they gained their evolution, not from fucking worshiping Jesus Christ, from worshiping Ogun, from asking Mami Wata, from asking Obeya to help them in their spiritual fight against these fucking crackers. And that's what helped them win. We got too many bedwenches, too many broken black men over here in America that's going to sabotage any kind of progress that we make under the guise of Christianity. God finna come save you. Ain't no Scott Daddy finna come save you. The only person that's going to save us is us.
I agree. And that pretty much is what happened in Haiti when they had their revolution. Now, it was more than just them going back to their orishas. It was the fact that they just were tired of putting up with the bullshit, and they had a leader that they followed who wasn't about nonviolence. And they also had certain advantages that you didn't have in the Americas. Fighting, coming out of the Marine Corps, I understand the difference between fighting on an island battle compared to having to fight in North America. That would be a totally.
But don't you think North America is way bigger and have a
which makes it more
bigger concentration of slaves?
Don't
you think that
no.
We could have. I just personally feel that Christianity is the reason why no slave rebellion was ever successful. Because under the guise of Christianity, of this white Jesus that they keep on seeing, you feel me, that you're willing to betray your own people behind this God. And it's unknowingly. Like, our people don't know that the shit that we're worshiping is the reason why we're turning on each other.
No, the slave rebellions in the Americas failed because, one, the vastness of America, two, the lack actually of number. So when you look at the Americas, North America, I should say, you had a higher concentration of European colonists in comparison to slaves. In Haiti, you had way more slaves than you had colonists.
Yeah,
so
not lying.
So it's in a North American revolt would have been much more difficult than a Haitian revolt. And this is why the overwhelming majority failed. I mean, the Gullah Wars.
The Gullah Wars, in Florida, because I'm down here.
I got to interrupt for a minute. Can I interrupt for a minute?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I know you were talking about the colonies, the amount of colonies that were in Haiti, but they weren't fighting the colonists. They were fighting. What's the guy name from France?
They killed off all those slave masters. But what they did before they killed off the slave master, they killed off every bed wench, every black woman that was sleeping with master that was going to boil their pants. They killed off every black man, every broken slaves, because the islands where a lot of slave breeding was going on. That's where the slave breeding camps was.
Okay.
So those people wasn't having that shit. You feel me?
Calm down.
They killed off every
Hey.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Calm down, man. Calm down.
I'm talking about the French soldiers.
I know you're very passionate.
Went there to fight the Haitians.
Right.
So
the other part of the
I was trying to explain before Napoleon came to Haiti to try to conquer back Haiti, they killed off all the colonists. That's why they sent Napoleon to Haiti to try to reconquer Haiti, which he failed.
Okay, but understand, whether they would have done that or not is inconsequential as far as what happened with the war. Once they were able to conquer the island, the half of the island of Dominica, which is half of the island of Hispaniola, which is the Haitian part. Now you're only fighting that small area, that small territory. So it's easier to defend when the French send troops, when other people send troops, it's easier to defend now. But when you're fighting in Georgia, in South Carolina, Florida, you don't have that advantage. You can be hit from multiple directions. So that makes that way more difficult. That's why I was saying the vastness of America plus the colonists, the number of colonists compared to the number of when they first revolted, not that many. Now, when people came, we got time to build fortifications and prepare ourselves for when the French come. You didn't have that in North America. The only other successful thing that happened was the ones who in Brazil that went in deep into the Amazon, and they were able to build their own nation state for about 60 years. But look at the land, the territory, that makes it where it works. All right. So I understand you're passionate, and I understand that you got race issues.
I ain't gonna say got race issues. I don't hate
No.
race. I'm just saying.
Now
like,
you got race issues,
I
man.
just feel like the real big part of the reason why the black community is in shambles is because of us worshiping Allah, us worshiping Jesus Christ, us not going. We the only people on earth that don't honor their ancestors. We honor people that you can't even, that historically you can't even prove existed. You feel me? Just because in this religion was given to us by the slave master. So we're worshiping the slave master's God. So they're living in prosperity while we're still suffering. This is the religion of suffering. You feel me? We suffer on earth. I learned during my journey of African spirituality that there's no such thing as heaven and hell when you die. They told the slaves that so they can live miserable on earth. Heaven and hell is on earth. Life is what we make it.
Yes, but all religions are hell on earth. All religions are controlling man. All religions cannot prove anything. We could talk about Ifa with Mama Wata and Olarum. You can't prove them either. Shango is more real than Yahweh, and they're both storm deities. Angry.
I would say I would rather practice the original, the millenniums before Christianity, millenniums before Islam ever came and invaded Africa.
Why practice something that you? Why practice anything that you cannot prove? Why practice anything that you can't prove?
I wouldn't say that it's religious. Our people were just in tune with nature. Our people were necromancers. They could play with fire with their hands. They could speak an enchantment and make somebody drop dead on the spot, like stuff like that. Going back to our roots.
Can you prove that?
Are way more powerful than Christianity. The reason why Christianity has its power is because
you sound weird,
black
Eric.
people give our energy,
you can hear me?
give our essence to this evil religion.
I wanna touch on something the young man just said about he said that the Christianity is, we're giving the Europeans our power, and that may be true, but more so most of us are
Eric. Okay, hold on for a second. Xavier.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you making a bunch of noise. Stop making all that damn noise. All right.
All right.
Now, if you weren't making that noise, you can probably hear Eric. So start over, Eric.
I want to touch. How you doing, brother? I want to touch on the subject matter where you said that we're giving the Europeans our power by believing in Christianity, and that may be true, but more so, most of us are giving it up. Now I'm saying with the dollar and the smile, you know what I'm saying, because it comes to a point where we as a people have to take accountability for the shit that we believe in. It's like my grandma used to tell me, it ain't what they call you, it's what you answer to. You know what I'm saying? So you can't so much control what a person believe in. You can give them the truth, almost like giving a horse water, leading a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can tell them, but you can't make nobody believe in anything they're not ready to believe in. All you could do is enlighten yourself, gain the knowledge that you have, and further, not so much spread, but give that knowledge to the person that has the ear to listen to it. So I've been listening to you for a while, brother. You do have some racial tension that you need to probably resolve, because not all black people, not all white people are against black people, just like not all black people are against white people. It's all what you choose to believe.
Both y'all can't talk at the same time, Xavier.
Don't overtalk people. We need to listen to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, Xavier, don't just jump in the middle of somebody talking. I mean, I know you might feel slightly offended that he and I are saying that you have racial rage, but this is only based on how you talk and what you said. You ready to kill anybody?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You ready to burn down the churches? You ready to kill anybody who's a black person that slept with a white person? Any black male that has a European mindset of what you determine a European mindset is, and all these white people, as you call them, crackers, and you putting all white people in the same category.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And you saying it with a lot of inflammatory language. So therefore, that's why we're saying you have some racial rage.
Not only inflammatory gestures, but
Wait a
you
minute, Eric. Let him.
Against
okay.
anybody. I just know that the powers that be it's not a regular white person, regular white people that did things that they did to us. It's the people that are in power. You feel me? That did the things they did. That did the things. I don't have any racial animosity towards anyone. You feel me? At the same time, I was explaining how people did what the Haitian did to those people. You feel me? That came and tried to recolonize their basically their island. You feel me? At the same time, you probably hear that in my voice, but that is not coming from a place of hate towards any race or anything. It's just that we were brainwashed. You feel me? We were brainwashed, and you feel me? Like I'm not trying to kill. I'm just telling you what our people did to the people that sold out. You feel me? That they felt like was gonna sell out our people. You feel me? To the raccoons, the people that's in our community.
Okay.
But brother, we
I don't think anybody deserves to die, but at the same time, do they deserve not to have a voice? Hell no, they don't deserve to have a voice, because they're the reason why we're still in the predicament we are right now, because they want to get along. You feel me? Go along to get along. And we don't need people like that in our community right now at this moment.
I'm stumped.
You know what
I'm stumped.
is
I'm stumped.
Go ahead, Miss Fifi.
we are deconstructing right now. We're discussing, and everyone is not with us at this time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I understand
So
that completely.
what we're going to have to do is have patience with them. Everything is not going to change all of a sudden, because you're right. It was beaten into us. A whole generation of people being enslaved and
Generations.
forget where they were from. And then the second generation came, and then they got us in the third generation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes,
we are going back. We got generation after generation. They're going to have to understand everything that you're saying, and also come to grips with themselves.
yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you know what? A lot of European countries, they've already done it. Churches are museums in their cities.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now they came to the truth. We got to come to the truth. It's
ma'am.
going to happen.
And if you're going to be a voice for that type of change, Xavier, you're going to have to learn how to reach people on multiple levels.
Exactly.
All right. So I'm just saying, you can right now, the angry person who is in that angry phase of coming through deconstruction, you can reach them right now, because they angry, you angry, we can all be angry together. But that's not going to move but in all honesty, the anger is not going to move the needle, because you have to know when you to be angry. When they come at you with anger, when they come at you with violence, that's when your anger is released, right? I don't believe that. Even though I grew up in Atlanta, I do not follow Martin Luther King. You shoot me, I'm gonna blow you up. So, but you meet the anger. But if you want to be peaceful with me, if you want to talk with me, if you want to figure out how we can all grow together, we can talk like that. We can work like that. Yes, and like Miss Fifi was saying, when I lived in Europe, I saw them decentralized. I mean, becoming more secular, and their lives were better as hell. Like you go to Sweden, Denmark, Norway, they don't religion. You barely see churches if they got any. And those people have a better quality of life. They have more equal rights. They have better education, better health care. So it can be done without.
Can I say something to Mr. Bruce right quick? Mr. Bruce, the Ethiopian Bible was brought to Ethiopia by the colonizers. Christianity is not from Africa at all. Its origins is not in Africa.
Actually, I just brought Mr. Bruce up.
When they tell you that the Christian Bible, there's an Ethiopian Bible, no, that was a Bible that came with the colonizers. They were those Ethiopians were converted by the colonizers. That is a whole false conception, misrepresentation. You feel me, of our African spirituality. That was nowhere in our African spirituality was ever Christianity. You feel me? It was brought to us.
Bruce is up here right now.
Excuse me.
Yes, Miss Fifi.
When we're talking, because I know the history of the European Bible, but when we're talking to people, we need to have research to back it up, not just person.
I have research. I got my receipts now. I got my receipts.
I'm not saying anything except when you talk to people, like he said, you are a good person to go to who have all of this rage with. But when you go to them, make sure you have because everybody has their ideas of what happened. So all I'm saying is have your research ready.
I have it.
Okay.
And proper discourse.
Yes, ma'am.
Proper discourse, man, to get you a long ways. The way you come across, all you doing is feeding fire with fire. And your goal is to put out the fire and build over top of it, not to create a fire and continue to destroy. If that makes sense.
I understand.
Yeah, how you been handling yourself now is good to go. Earlier, not so much. Bruce, you wanted to say something?
I didn't hear much of what was saying earlier before. I hear him about.
Xavier was responding to, I guess you made a comment about the Ethiopian Bible. What was your comment about the Ethiopian Bible?
Oh no, I didn't say anything about Ethiopian Bible. All I said was an Ethiopian man said Christianity is not a white man religion. That's all I said.
An Ethiopian man said that Christianity is not a white man's religion. I see it.
Yeah, then he rebutted by saying that the Ethiopian Bible was brought over by the Europeans. So I got nothing to say about that,
Okay, what did you? So you came into the guest thing. What is it that you want to talk about?
Oh, I thought we were talking about the prompts.
Well, we were, but we can go back to it because I kind of like talking about the things that I originally started talking about and what the show's supposed to be about. So, what do you have to say about the prompt?
Sir, did you know that the Bible verses like Matthews and Luke and stuff like that? Did you know that those are European cities in Rome?
What? You got to explain that. I don't understand what you mean.
Basically the Matthews and Luke, like Genesis stuff like that. Those were actual cities in Rome. Those were actual cities. Named the Bible or verses or whatever you want to call them, scriptures, chapters, whatever the hell you want to call them.
You're saying the books are named after places in Rome,
cities
in Rome.
Yeah, they named them after Roman cities.
I ain't never heard that before.
Yes, sir.
And I've never.
I thought the Jays were fighting against the Roman Empire in the Bible.
Huh?
The Jews were fighting the Romans.
In the Roman Empire.
Yeah, but you have to understand this here, ma'am. Constantine, which was a Roman, he's the one that took over, that basically made Christianity a state religion. That means either you're gonna practice Christianity and worship Jesus Christ, or you're gonna die. They did
No, that's not true.
The Roman Catholic Church, all under Constantine.
Xavier, that is incorrect history that has been pushed by a lot of people, a lot of disinformation on the internet, and people in podcasts that push that disinformation. So, one, the the Old Testament books were named prior to the Romans coming into Judea. And then, of course, they were conquered by the Greeks, and then they were conquered by the Romans. And the Septuagint, which is written in Koine Greek, they had already had those names that they had translated over from the Aramaic and Hebrew. The Gospels were not named at all until 180, which is prior to Constantine. They were named Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John by Irenaeus in 182 CE. Constantine, he did not use Christianity in the same format that you're thinking. It's two different emperors you got to put in here. Constantine first made Christianity legal in the Roman Empire in 318 at the Edict of Milan. Then, because Christians were still fighting amongst each other, in 325, he called for the Council of Nicaea to organize Christianity under the Orthodox version that most of his Roman military personnel were involved in. And in that, all he asked for was them to stop the fighting over the Trinity, because that was the fight that was going on, the biggest fight that was going on. So the only thing that came out of the Council of Nicaea was the Nicene Creed that made the Trinity, and Athanasius was then told to make sure he sent out a letter to every year to tell all the Christians when they were going to celebrate Easter. And so that was it. It's not until Emperor Theodosius II in 382 that Christianity becomes the religion of Rome. And now Theodosius killed anybody who disagreed. So you want to have all of that correctly,
Yes, sir. Formatted. Yes, sir.
So it's not Constantine. It's more Theodosius is the one who killed everybody and made it the state religion. Constantine just organized it.
Do you know about King James? You know about the evil King James, right? You know about King James, right? He not only wrote well, they say he wrote the New Testament, but he also wrote a book of demonology, which a lot of Christians won't even tell you about.
Okay, he didn't write the New Testament.
Not the New Testament, Old Testament. Well,
he didn't write nothing.
That's what everybody said.
He wrote nothing.
King James.
James, all he did was give them rules on how I think it was 54 scribes, on how they were going to transcribe the Bible into an English version that would be fit for the Church of England that he was lording over. He didn't write anything. Now, he did write a book of demonology, which was, even in that book of demonology, it's not a book. It's a book of how to defeat demons, how to fight against demons. It's not so much he worshiped demons. When people hear book of demonology, that's what the first thing they think about. But it's not about worshiping demons. It's about fighting against demons. The same way Solomon's Keys is supposed to be a demonology book, a magic book of how to control demons.
Yes.
Right? So,
as a Christian, that's the first time I hear that.
First time hearing what?
That book, Demonology.
Oh, King James Version?
Yep.
Yeah, he wrote a book of demonology, but it's spells and stuff and how to deal with demons and cast out demons. And much of that book was used by Protestants and Catholics to be able, they call themselves exorcising demons out of people.
Another little known fact about King James is that he had his mother executed. His mother was Mary Queen of Scots, and she was executed. And they say he had his mother executed so that he could further his way to the throne. That's another misconception.
He wasn't a good person.
He definitely wasn't a good person.
And his translation is by far one of the worst translations out there. Anybody who reads the King James and think that you are reading the correct version, you will find yourself actually with a lot of the misdoctrine that people have. For instance, to kind of go back to the subject matter, when you read Isaiah 7 in the King James Version, it says that a young woman will give birth. But it says that a virgin will give birth. But the actual Hebrew, which you can find in which the RSV updated version demonstrates, the actual Hebrew says that a young woman, not a virgin, a young woman is pregnant with a child at that time frame. It wasn't talking about some future time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when the Matthew and the Luke try to go and grab the whole the virgin was pregnant, no, it said an alma, which means a young woman. If they wanted to mean virgin, they would have the Hebrew would have said Bethula, but it said a young woman, and it said is, and that by the time the child knows the difference between good and evil, that the kings that were fighting against Ahaz will be deserted. So the fullness of that verse has nothing to do with Jesus, because Ahaz, that was dealing with Ahaz and him fighting then. So the whole Mary story is BS. They're just Matthew and Luke are trying to make it fit the Old Testament.
Yes, sir. I feel like the whole story of Jesus is fake, because not the letter J was created. Not shortly after the letter J was created, that's when they made that name Jesus, and Jesus was also a slave ship. You feel me? This is the second slave ship to come over here to the Americas.
Yeah.
And also there are more historical and more historical evidence of people in the time of Jesus than there are of Jesus ever existing in that time.
Yes, yes. And his name wasn't even Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole thing. Jesus is a colonized.
Nah, don't do that. 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 Jesus is, and so what you have is that so the name in the Hebrew was Yahshua, right?
Yeah.
Yahshua in English translate to Joshua. Okay, you with me? Yahshua translate to Joshua in English, but Yahshua has zero translation in Greek. So when the New Testament is written in Koine Greek, if you don't turn that shit off,
that's my people. I'm sorry.
Tell your people to do something else. But with Yahshua has it's impossible to translate that name in Greek. So when you can't translate a name into another language, what you do is you get the closest name that has the same meaning as that name. So the Greek had to make it Ius, because that's the saving Zeus is the closest that they had to Joshua. Then the Latin translated from the Greek. The Latin is Isus. That's the translation from Ius to Isus. Now, the English could have translated Joshua because it is a Germanic language and not a Latin language or a Greek language. So it could have translated if it was translated from the Old Testament, from the Aramaic and the Hebrew. But because the King James Version is so jacked up and bad, they didn't do that. They translated it as, some actually 1611 versions. Some of them had Ius, some of them had Isus. But then, yes, when the J came in, because they already used the Greek and the Latin, they just changed it to Jesus. So it wasn't, yes, his name would not have been Jesus in a sense. It was Yahshua, but they couldn't translate Yahshua. But the English could, but they were just too damn lazy to do so.
They could have without creating the letter J, but they tried to find something to, right?
Well, they were already using the Greek and the Latin. They didn't have respect for the ancient Hebrew. This is why James never used the ancient Hebrew, but actually used a Swiss translation. And he did use the Vulgate, but he never went back truly to the Hebrew and utilized that. So when the Vulgate said Isus, they just used Isus, or they saw the Greek said Ius, they just used Ius.
in some African language, they pronounce it Yesu, like Yesu, and in my language, it's Iese.
What's your language?
Because,
Okay.
Samoan.
You Samoan?
I'm Samoan. So when I hear the African pronounce it Yesu, and then I just think about how we pronounce Jesus as well in my language. It's exactly the same pronunciation, but different spellings. It's just they have the Y, and then we have the I.
Yeah.
Yesu.
Yeah.
But they all still talk about the same person, and that same person.
Pretty
Just
much.
now, you say you're a Christian, Bruce?
I am.
Why? If
Well,
why? Can you really tell me why you're a Christian? Can you go back to the base of why you are actually Christian?
Right, yes, I can. It was my convictions of my own desires, flesh desires. I didn't believe at first when I first heard about it, because I didn't bother looking into it. I was just too busy being in the world.
Okay. So why did you go look into Islam or Hinduism or back to your ancient Samoan religions?
I did went back to my ancient Samoan religion.
Okay.
And I asked the question, why did my ancestors chose this religion over our own? You know,
it's not that they chose it, homie. It's not that they chose it. It was like it was beaten and raped into us. It was beaten and raped into y'all.
Let him answer, Xavier.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily the truth.
Well, I'm not gonna disregard that because there are still few elderly in my own home that still don't like the white tea man. You know, after all they did, but there are other elderlies that have a different perspective, saying they agree with those elders that what the white tea did was bad, but majority of our people chose this Jesus over our own gods because there were a lot of evil that we did in the name of our own gods before Jesus and Christianity came over to our island.
Like what?
Sacrificial of babies.
Judaism sacrifice babies. Go ahead.
Yeah, cannibals.
The Eucharist is cannibalism. Go ahead.
So all of that changes when Christianity came over. We don't practice none of that no more.
Yes, you do. Do you do
Who told you that that's what your ancestors did? Who told you that?
My elders.
So you're saying that some elders believe and some elders don't?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying everybody believes in Jesus now, but there are still old people that still don't like the white tea man because of the history. But there are other old people that have a different mindset, saying, of course we can hate the white tea man for what they did, taking the resources. But we cannot blame the white tea man for the evil that we have done before they came over.
With Christianity, they're just like saying black people need to thank the Europeans for slavery. That sounds crazy, homie.
Hold on. What he's trying to say is, and if I'm correct, what he's trying to say is you can hate the white people for what they brought over and the torture and the cruelty they brought over, but at the same time you have to think that at some point we were doing this to ourselves, and that's true with European history, that's true with African history, that's true with any nationality, in any national history of any ethnic of any ethnic background. You know, what I will say is that Christianity made it acceptable for those things to take place within their subset. But you have to also understand that this is not something they actually did to everybody. We were doing it to ourselves and our own ethnic group.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
And let me add something. So, Bruce, I'm not trying to convince you of anything, but what I do like to have is correct information. And I actually fell in love with the Samoan community back during the World Cup. You probably weren't born back then when they went against South Africa. How old are you?
I'm 32.
Yeah, you weren't born then. Well, no, you might have been just born. You was a little infant. But anyway, that's when I first learned about the Hakas and that sort of thing. Fell in love with the society. All right. There is zero documented evidence of Samoan societies, ancient or otherwise, participating in baby sacrifices. They never did it. This is something that the European colonizers told your ancestors about their religion. They did the same thing to the people of India by telling them that they were polytheistic, but the actual Indian religion is not polytheistic. It's monotheistic with aspects of Brahman. So what your ancestors, what your elders, because I'm gonna be honest, we can't trust a lot of my grandparents. They don't know a third. They didn't know a third of the things that I know now, and I'm being nice about that. And I love them, respect them, but they didn't. They just simply didn't know. They only knew what they had been told over and over again. But Samoans didn't, exactly. And there's no evidence of cannibalism in the ancient Samoan culture either. This is things that that the Europeans who came there told them that their ancestors were doing, and this is why you need Jesus. But when you research the Bible, what you will find is ancient Israelites did practice the Moloch sacrifice, which is child sacrifice. What you will also find is that the idea of the Eucharist is cannibalism, that your bread becomes his body and the blood, the wine becomes his blood. That is what the Jesus character is teaching. This is why the Catholics call it that. Only because of the Protestant Reformation that people started changing that mentality. But that's cannibalism. And the fact that Jesus had to die in order to cleanse you from your sins is human sacrifice. So the same now, did Polynesians, Samoans, and other people like that practice some forms of human sacrifices at times? Yes. But so did the majority of the world.
Exactly.
Some form of human sacrifice.
I would never know any of that about the world, but I agree with. That's why in my history, it's hard, like you said, like we sing songs about our history, and everything was oral tradition. Nothing was documented. Nothing was written down. Meaning, anybody can change the history. Anybody can come and say something different, and this group of Samoans will believe it, and some groups of Samoans don't believe it. You know, that's why I was like, this history is complicated and hard because nothing was ever documented.
And can I rebuttal on what he's saying? So, like, when you said what you said, it just brought me back to when Haiti gained their independence. Every European nation was saying that, oh, voodoo is evil. You feel me? That our African spirituality is evil. That's where the zombie theory came up. You feel me? So they told our people the same thing, that we was savages. We was practicing crazy. You know, we were practicing baby sacrifice, stuff like that before they brought Christianity, which Christians were some of the main cannibals. They used to do this. You feel me? They got a book called The Delectable Negro. You can get it on TikTok right now. You feel me? So it's like a lot of that stuff that they say that your people were doing before they were introduced to Christianity. I believe it was falsehood. They're lies.
There is a lot of false information going out there. Now, I've invited 2 other people on here, but we're going to keep this in a discourse. We're not going to all talk at the same time. So, Ike, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, bro.
Wait a minute, how old are you, Ike?
Thank you for having me. I'll be 55 in November.
All right, 55. All right, are you Christian or Bible believer?
I used to be a Christian.
Okay.
I went to Bible school. I did all that spoken tongues. I believed all this stuff they wrote about in the Bible, but started having my my real born again moment from 2022, when I started seeing that, the story is just a story. When they say the greatest story that ever was told, that's what it is. It's a great story. And there's nothing real about the story. They all made up from Genesis to Revelation.
Yes.
If you dig deeper, none of the books of the Bible, the names of the books of the Bible were not the actual writers. They were manuscripts compiled, decided, and the names were assigned after the fact. It's not like Moses wrote Torah. It's just that the sect called the scribes and their other Pharisees and Sanhedrians decided, the guys that the law decided, we're going to call this is going to be this. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, whatever, all the writings of Paul. It's not like there was a figure called Paul or a figure called John. It was the titles, the names were assigned after the fact. Even the book of John, they plagiarized for the most part the Philio of Alexandria. John came in almost 250 years after the dates they were citing, after the so-called Christ they were citing. That was when it was written. And somebody that came in over 200 years later is telling us that this is Jesus that he never met. So he's talking about, God is love, but even about God never introduced himself to us as love. God said that he's a consuming fire. God said that he's a man of war. God said that you're going to approach him with fear and trembling. Every way the so-called God or the tribal deity of the people of Israel that introduced himself in the Old Testament, because he's a tribal deity. It's just, Caucasian people trying to make their own spirituality or their own cosmology to be the universal truth. Whatever they believe, everybody must believe that that's it. I'm originally from Nigeria. I live in Houston, and in my community, mostly African community had their own tribal deities, their mythologies, their pantheons. So, and it's local. Just like politics, it is local. Every community have that their mythology, what they believe. But the thing with this Eurocentric or rather Caucasian or Israel, whatever we're going to call it, they want to make their own tribal deity to be the all-knowing supreme God of the whole earth. Instead of leaving it the way it was a tribal deity of a people in certain region. But because, might is strength, might is right, they conquered a lot of nations. So because you conquered it, you force that belief down everybody's throat. It's not like it came with the wings of a snow white dove and people heard the message and they were caught in their heart. The story, it pierced my heart like myself. Someone brother said it pierced their heart. And no, that's not how the message came. The message came with the barrels of God, guns, swords. People were unalived and conscripted. They were compelled to become Christians. And you talked about killing of twins or unaliving of twins. That's a very interesting thing. You can actually check, the Roman Empire ruled the world for a long time, over 1,000 years. They were in charge, and the Roman Empire is not just where we have Rome here. It stretched from present-day Italy all the way to Syria, then Upper and Lower Kemet. That's how much into Africa. That's how much influence they controlled. Now, one of the oldest Roman laws is called the Law of the 12 Tables. The Law of the 12 Tables, if you go through the Law of the 12 Tables, they have the law about family. And in the Law of Family, they say somewhere there that if a woman gives birth to a malformed, an abnormal child, they're supposed to bring it out, and the head of the home is supposed to unalive the baby, stomp him to death. Roman influence over the world, over Europe, over Africa, made infanticide law. If a child is abnormal, and having twins is, sometimes looked abnormal to some of them. It is the practice. It was a Caucasian practice, and they making it like, you know, do we in Africa, we are unaliving twins, but they were not. You just check the British law. When did infanticide became illegal? You know, when did they outlaw infanticide? It wasn't like, you know, that they had a law. They later had to pass a law to make it illegal for infanticide to happen. So that means that it's not like anybody, like they approved it as legal, but it got to a point around 1840 or 1820, then they passed a law making infanticide illegal. So that means that it was a practice that was condoned in their society. So if they did in their society, they don't even take any blame or any shame about doing it. Why are they going to shame people in Samoa, in Haiti, in Africa? Oh, that you all were doing it. It's their culture. It's the influence they had over a lot of other cultures. That's how we had all these things. It's their mythology. Even their Jesus Christ is their Mitra in Rome. They turned Mitra into, so they did a whole lot. The Bible, when you start reading the Bible as a true born again, when I mean born again, I just mean it, you know, jocularly. You know, I'm not associated with anything like. But now that once your eyes become open, you will just wonder, how is it that you really believed all these things all those while? I went to a Bible school. You know, how did I believe that Almighty God, whose will is supreme, whose will cannot be changed, but suddenly my prayer and my fasting will make a way that the will of God that is immutable will suddenly change and I'll get what I want? If we believe that God's will cannot be changed, then why are you going to pray for it to happen? Your prayer doesn't do anything, except if you think that God is an emotional person. He can be sad, he can be happy, he can be angry. So because he's emotional like human beings, you can influence him with your prayer and your fasting. You know, so the whole message, Christianity, even any other religion that believes in there's an almighty God that is keeping watch 24 hours, 7 days, and the only people he cares for the most part is Israel. Then yet every other people are appendages. You just gotta walk your way to inherit what is freely given to the Israelis. You know, it is some BS, and I no longer believe any of that crap. Thank you, guys.
No, I appreciate that. That was some good stuff. The only thing that I would add to what you were saying is the fact, I mean, everything you said, great. I do have to research the 12 tables, the law of the 12 tables, though. That's new to me, so I will research that one. But I would add that not only because, like, we were listening to Bruce, who was on here, he's gone now. Although he is Samoan, he sounds more American he sounds like he has an American accent. So he's probably grew up in America. Wherever you also grow up has influenced the religion that you take. When people say, because he was saying that he was living this life and then Jesus pierced his soul. All right. Even if you didn't grow up in a religious household, you're surrounded in America by Christianity. You see churches everywhere. You see Christians everywhere. People always talking about how they're believing Jesus, or we got colloquialisms that we use Jesus as a name. So eventually, when you find it within yourself that you need to do better, and you think that there's a spirituality that you need, you're going to gravitate to the one that you're mostly surrounded by. That's why yesterday, the guy was being, I forgot his name, the city, he was being in disingenuous when I proposed to him, if he was born in Saudi Arabia, his ass would have became Muslim. He would have become Christian, because there are no Christian churches unless you're on an American compound in Saudi Arabia. There are no Christian churches. Well, at least there weren't back in the time in the 90s that I was referring to when he was going through his transformation. So your surroundings, where you're born, makes a huge difference into you falling into these religions, and then you call it being pierced. Facts. When really you weren't pierced, you were like secondary indoctrination before you even went there, and then you went to join that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would add, because people can't see the beatings and the raping that happened. We too far away from that for people to really rationalize it. Right?
Yeah.
But
where you are will always determine what you become initially, because that's what they talk about, environment versus nurture for the most part.
I think is with our people is that we don't correlate that Bible with evil, and we don't correlate that, but we correlate that Bible with the story about us, which is really it's not a story about us at all. It's really all it is folklore. All that Bible is folklore, but it's a spell book, because I feel like it's one of the religions of suffering. You live horrible on earth. You let people beat you, spit on you, rape your children, and when you die, there's a better place. If you mean, African spirituality teaches you that there is no heaven and hell when you die. Energy never dies. Your spirit never dies. It always lives on. You feel me? So you just be reincarnated. That's where reincarnation comes from. You feel me? If we get reincarnated into another body, you have to start it over again. There is no heaven and hell.
There's no reincarnation inside of African either, man. It's just you die and you go into the ground. So again, Bruce, or whatever your name is, brother, you familiar with Dr. Higgins, Dr. Ray Higgins?
No, sir.
All right, so Ray Higgins has been waking people up for about 25 years or so. So there's a lot of what you're saying that if you are not speaking directly of it, a lot of that is derived from some of his studies, as well as a few other well-known African Americans who have been trying to wake Black people up. But the thing here is that when you die, as far as African spirituality goes, yes, there may be a certain energy we talk about, but when you die, you go into the ground. That's it. That's done per se, for the most part. Although still,
I studied Ifa for about 2 to 3 years. There's no reincarnation. You join the astral plane. It's kind of like in the Black Panther movie. You kind of join the astral plane of the ancestors.
Yeah, you join the ancestors.
You don't reincarnate and come back to Earth.
Nope.
In a sense, this is why they venerate, not worship, but venerate their ancestors, and ask their ancestors for help or inspiration or things of that nature.
Right.
It actually follows more of a hermetic. It follows more of a hermetic understanding.
Can I ask y'all a question, Mr. Ike? Like, now that I think about it, like, I feel like just by reading that Bible, the curses of that, because that Bible, that God from that Bible was that's an evil entity. That's an evil deity. Look at the things that he said that he does. I believe that by even reading that Bible, you putting the curses from that Bible onto your life. You're cursing your life, you cursing yourself to suffer on this earth just by reading that Bible. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I wouldn't say reading. I think I wouldn't say reading.
Opinion of it is that when it comes to curses, when it comes to hell, when it comes to, it's just tools of control. They all they fear the script writers. Even talking about Jesus, he said, "Woe unto you, you scribes." Scribes are script writers. You see script writers in Bollywood, people that write make believe, they are called scribes. The script writers say, "Woe unto you, scribes." So the whole thing is, the scribes are the ones that write this make believe. The scribes, the introduction of the curses, like you said, was in Genesis, God saying that, if you don't do this, I'll visit your iniquities unto your 5th and 10 and 100 generations of those that you do. It's just to compel people to be in fear. They needed control, and control comes with fear. And even when you look at the Old Testament, Old Testament doesn't have a place of eternal torment, because what they have is Sheol and Hades. And Sheol and Hades were nowhere in the Old Testament was it called a place of torment. Place of torment came with the New Testament, because after they introduced going into heaven, because Old Testament didn't have heaven per se. New Testament came with heaven, but after heaven, and you're going to walk the streets of gold, you're going to live in a mansion made of gold, wear a crown of glory and all that BS. It wasn't enough to compel people to become Christians. Because like they're gonna wait for these material things that you told them to issue while on earth, so they're gonna go there to inherit it. So they needed to introduce another tool of fear. So they introduced the doctrine of hellfire, and they took it from Gehenna, where Jesus was preaching, said, "Oh, if you don't obey my words, your life will be like Gehenna." And everybody in that era, assuming that story was true, understood where Gehenna was, outside the gates of Jerusalem, by the Kidron Valley, a place where people, it's like a refuse dump. It was a trash dump where so the place stinks, it smells. Then you have to put some, dry leaves there and allow the smoke to cover the stench. So you say your life is going to be messed up like this, so they turned Gehenna into perpetual hellfire. Mm-hmm. So they just did it. So you're not living under curses. We are not living under, curses are something we really need to revisit again. I'm from Africa.
I want to say something.
African traditional spirituality. I investigated. I believe in some of the some of them I don't accept it. I'm Igbo, so I don't do the Orishi. Orishi is mostly Yoruba. I'm Igbo, so what we do is different. We don't. Reincarnation is just like you said, bro. You're not reincarnating. You can't come. You're not coming out. You only pass through here once. Nobody comes back here. Nobody gets a second shot at life. You just come here once. But my people believe that every person have a cheat. Your cheats. They call it your spiritual guide. Your soul. But in the light of new knowledge, I can see that actually may be energy. Kind of an energy, a consciousness that comes with you, because human beings are just our body and our brain. The brain is what taps into that consciousness, and the whole universe is a big pool of consciousness. A pool of consciousness out there. Our brain is that wireless. I mean, we can see the brain physically, but what we can't see about the brain is maybe the mind. So the mind is the Wi-Fi the brain used to tap into the universal consciousness pool.
Now, hold on, Xavier. Hold on, Xavier. Eric wanted to say something about this subject. We're gonna have control today, unlike yesterday.
So I agree with everything the brother is saying, and to tap back to what the other younger brother was saying. You when you say if you read the Bible or any religious text, you cursing yourself. I personally don't believe in curses. I think you read to understand, to elevate your consciousness, like young man, like a older guy was saying. You read to elevate your consciousness. You don't read to believe. When you read to believe, you only putting yourself you're stagnating your process. You're putting yourself in a box, or whatever that box is that you read. So you don't read to believe. You read to understand and elevate your consciousness. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
When you read the Bible, if I can interject for a second, gentlemen, you on the phone, if you can hold back for a second, David, let's go ahead and share the airspace. Now, what I want to say here is that agreeing with what Eric is saying, and also what you're saying is when you read the Bible as well, it's not trying to take information from that to fix your life. When we read the Bible, if we're atheists, we're reading the Bible to show people where the conflation is, where the misattribution is, where the misleading is. That is why we read the Bible, not to learn from it in the sense that we want to take in its doctrine. We read and able to show people where it is wrong, where the conflict begins, and how it misleads if you do not know the proper interpretation of what you are reading. So let's just baseline that from there. I landed there.
I like that. Thank you.
And I'm going to add, because I do life coaching on the side here, and it doesn't matter what religion you are in, but yes, if you are reading something, watching something, participating in something that is filled with the idea that you are filthy rags, you're under curses, it is not that you are reading that's going, or reading or participating in, that has the curse or has the punishments. It is how you internalize those things in your own mind, and then you will start to manifest it yourself, because that's where your mind is at. So yes, to a certain degree, reading the Bible, if you read the Bible, you will think that you are unworthy, that you're filthy, that you're sinful, that you're not good enough for any damn thing. So it's a self-fulfilling curse situation when you
it stagnates your growth.
Definitely.
Yeah. I believe that if there was no colonization, that we would be on other planets right now. You feel me? Are the smartest people on Earth. We invented everything. I believe that
we didn't invent everything.
No colonization.
We didn't invent gunpowder.
We invented mostly everything.
No. If there was no religion, the world would be much further scientifically. If there was no religion.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so.
There's no such thing as race, my guy. Race is something that man created.
Social construct.
Right. Yeah. That's your next graduation level, is to get past the idea of race. Because if it wasn't people like John Dees, right? A brilliant man, created calculus at the same time that another person created calculus, but created calculus. If he didn't have religious convictions, how much further would he have been able to go scientifically, right? There were Muslim scholars, mathematicians. If they weren't held back by Islam, how much further would they have gone in math? You see what I'm saying? There are, if people weren't held back by religion, the world in itself, you can look at any society and find that they would have excelled in other areas. And, we wouldn't have, we probably would be colonizing Mars and all that shit by now, if that was the case.
Yeah, we would be on other planets, I feel.
But as a species, not as one group.
Yeah, as a species, yeah. Yeah, not as just the black race and this and that. No, as a whole, as a world whole, I feel like we would have made way more progress on Earth.
Yeah. Now Tom is new.
Because of that.
Come on, Tom, what you got? Tom, how old are you? The TikTok requires age verifications.
Yeah, I'm 29, right? I'm 29.
All right.
But yeah, peace to everybody. I subscribe to you on YouTube and everything, so I know what you're all about and everything. And I don't subscribe to any religion either or nothing like that. But just towards, I guess, I agree everything everybody's saying, basically. I was hearing somebody was saying about like reading a book or reading the Bible curses you and such and such. But somebody else cleared that up already, where it's just the book. It's just it's more of a psychological thing. If you do read it and you let it, you believe in it cursing you or something. It's more of a psychological thing than anything. But I wanted to ask you, have you ever heard about like this? They're saying I've heard this subject about the Old Testament. Basically, Christianity is really about council of gods, with like Elohim, Yahweh, Baal, and all of these other gods. And I've heard this. What I've heard is like it's all gods in Canaan, in these lands, and they're fighting for basically like who's gonna come out as the more powerful god, basically. Have you ever like heard about that?
I think.
Is there any truth to it?
I think because the formulation of your question was kind of all over the place a little bit. But if I'm correct, what you're asking is, was there some type of battle between the different Canaanite gods to gain more people that follow them? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
what you do have
Elohim and Yahweh.
So the Old Testament speaks, the actual Old Testament speaks of multiple gods. Prior to the re-editing of, the re-editing of the Old Testament by Josiah, you had the you had the Old Testament gods were different. They were multiple. The Israelites worshiped multiple gods. There was a difference between El Elyon and Yahweh. As a matter of fact, in the Canaanite pantheon, El had a wife named Asherah, and their 2 children was Baal or Baal, whichever one you want, how you pronounce it. And Yahweh. The Canaanite, the Israelites who were formerly Canaanites, who separated and called themselves Israelites under the Moses situation, Abraham and Moses situation, were worshipers of the storm deity Yahweh. But when the Assyrians conquered northern Israel, Josiah saw an opportunity to merge El and merge Yahweh together. And so that's when he merged them together to form kind of the Yahweh El God is one being, and got rid of his wife Asherah. But prior to that, there was a council of God. And this is why in Deuteronomy, it speaks of El Elyon giving out portions of land to different gods. And then to Yahweh, he only gave a people. And from that of giving a people is where you get how the people went and conquered other lands, where like when you read the book of Joshua, they're going out and it's still in Numbers and stuff where they conquered still when Moses is around, they go out and they conquer Jericho. But when they start really conquering, trying to gain their inheritance, this is in the book of Joshua, and they're conquering these other people who are in this so-called promised land, because this war deity, because Yahweh was also a war god as well. So he was, and because he only got a people, he went out and conquered other people's land. And in that attempt, he's conquering the other gods. This is why you can reasonably say that Yahweh was defeated by Shamash when Mesha was able to defeat the Israelite people and rule over them.
And he did the same thing where he offered his son, and he defeated Israel. He defeated the Israelites.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it is kind of a war of the gods that's kind of going on through the fighting of the people.
Reading it, it's almost like a whole mythology, just like with Odin and Thor. It's the same thing.
You're so right, Tom. You know, all the stories, they were honestly nothing to do with Israel. Israel or the Judaic writers appropriated another cultural story about the Sumerian gods. These are the war of the gods. The gods were called Elohim. You know, one of the biggest warriors among them is the god Marduk.
Yeah.
Marduk is the one called Baal. Marduk is our El Shaddai. You know, Marduk is the guy. He's one of the biggest warriors of those times. So what these guys did, they took pre-existing ancient texts about, maybe the Anunnaki, the Sumerian stories, and they nationalized it and made it their own story. They took stories that were already pre-existing, and they nationalized it and put their own actors. David, nobody like David, nobody like Moses. There was all these characters were created by the script writers. There was nobody like David, nobody like Solomon. Solomon, if you take the story of Solomon, you're going to match some of those stories to something that happened in Egypt. There was one of these pharaohs, they called it Pharaoh Amenemhotep III. Pharaoh Amenemhotep, they said in the days of Pharaoh Amenemhotep, gold were as plentiful as the sand on the sea. Amenemhotep was considered the wisest person on the face of the earth. Amenemhotep, in one of his writings, called it the wisdom of Amenemhotep to his son. The book of Proverbs plagiarized some of the writings of Amenemhotep and made it the writings of Solomon. There was no Solomon. Now, Moses, who was this character? Amenemhotep's son that took over from the throne from him is Amenemhotep Pharaoh Amenhotep IV. In the 50th year of his reign, he changed his name from Amenhotep to Akhenaten. Pharaoh Akhenaten. Akhenaten is the one that started monotheism.
Yeah, with just the sun.
Monotheism is, you have to give it to Akhenaten, Pharaoh Akhenaten in the worship or in the service of Aten. You know, the sun, you know, because the way they look at it, you know, God is invisible. The only thing you can see about the invisible God is his sun. That's the sun in the sky. So they look at it. Everything is about the worship of the sun.
Yeah.
Who is the only seen quality of the invisible Father. So Christianity is still the worship of the sun. So you make S-U-N into S-O-N. It's still the worship of the sun. So when Akhenaten did this thing, he started defacing all the other deities in Egypt. And one of the most powerful clique back then, we are the priests. So he kind of made the priest. So, you know, people have to go to the priest to do sacrifice, pay money, pay this thing. But he cut it off. Nobody was doing that again. So the priests in Egypt connived with the military and they did a coup. In the 17th year of the reign of Pharaoh Akhenaten, he was overthrown and forced out of Egypt. It was the movement, and he moved down towards that Congo area. It was the movement of Akhenaten, and in his movement, they said he passed the papyrus reed, you know, the Sea of Reed. It is that crossing of the Sea of Reed that they made it that Moses took people and passed the Red Sea. Nobody has ever passed the Red Sea. Red Sea has never parted for anybody, and the Red Sea will never part for anybody. It was the Sea of Reed. It was a papyrus reed, and the guy that made it was Akhenaten, not Moses. So Old Testament is cut and join, copy and paste. You know, make up characters. You know, they just is a whole bunch of characters that were made up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to rebuttal on the worshiping of the sun. Do y'all notice how what is his name? His name is Caesar Borgia. In every picture, you see him in front of the sun. Like, I believe that's demonic in itself, because they're putting that picture of that white man in front of the sun, and in every picture that he's in front of the sun. Like, his picture is literally in front of the sun. You get one coming from?
Answer your question, brother. What is demonic? What is demon?
As in evil. And when I say demonic, I mean as in evil. Evil things, evil deeds. When I say demonic, I'm not using it in the Christian sense of, you feel me?
But having sun rays is not
evil deeds.
Having
but
sun.
I don't understand how that. Go ahead, my bad.
No, go ahead, Tom. You probably.
Yeah. I was just saying. I don't understand how that's evil.
Having that but me, my personal opinion is those depictions of that Jesus that what his name is Michelangelo wrote, like what he painted. I believe that those pictures are evil in themselves. Just by looking at those images of Caesar Borgia, those images of those prisoners in the Last Supper. You get where I'm coming from? I believe that those pictures are evil, and even looking at the pictures. Yeah, that's just my personal belief.
Because somewhat to be evil, don't you believe has to be some kind of action?
Caesar Borgia was an evil man.
Yeah, but you're saying, so I'm saying,
he was a sodomite. The painting of this man is evil in itself. Even just looking at the picture is evil in itself.
How
okay.
So
it ain't even about how it affects me. It ain't about how it affects me. It's how it affects my people.
It is a Christian. I think Xavier is looking at it from a Christian. Even though you're not.
Wait, what?
Practicing Christian.
I don't get that either.
It's Christian influence. We all have it. Yes.
What is happening?
I don't know. So here's my play on just about everything that y'all, everything we've ever said.
Hold on. Got too many people talking.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let me get you.
Yeah, level set, Lorenzo.
you know,
and
the 12, you know, the Last Supper, the 12 disciples or apostles that were around it, is all symbolism. You know, everything the ancient world operated with so much about astrology, they understood astrology and the movement of the stars. So that 12 tribes of Israel, 12 apostles, 12 this, 12 disciples, everything is still that number 12. Is the zodiac that they were representing there. It's not about Sister Borgia, whether he was the gay son of the former pope or whatever. It's really there. Understand that that sun disk that they have there is actually not the sun, it's L. L is Saturn. Saturn, the planet Saturn. The L represents Saturn. So when you put it, and whether you're Muslim, Christian, everybody understood the place of Saturn. From the Sumerian story, there's one of the characters called Enlil. Enlil's sign was Saturn. Enlil is, you know, kind of the prince of the air. Enlil is the guy in, you know, kind of represented by Saturn, the sun disk. You know, not Saturn is not sun disk, but Saturn. Enlil is equally called the Satan.
Yeah.
Enlil is equally called after his, you know, Marduk is not his son. Marduk is the son of Enki. But Enlil is equally called the, what's it called? What do we call Jesus? Right? You know, God in the Bible. You know, Enlil goes by all these other names, Satan. So that's why when Israelis were coining their name, it is Isis, El, and Ra. You know, they put all the symbolism together. You know, when they were
Ra, the sun god, Ra, Isis, Egyptian.
Let's not be under the influence of the institutionalized indoctrination that we grew up under, thinking that when you look at the painting, oh, some evil is gonna nothing.
Right. Hold on, Tom. Eric, go ahead, Eric.
So here's how I would sum it all up. From the beginning of from Canaan to when Canaan split off, Canaanites split off and became Israelites. Yeah, this is all man's fanciful idea of what they could not understand, right? So they formed these gods, these war gods, and whichever one performed better on the battlefield or won the war, whatever we want to call it, that was the supreme god, because their god helped. It was all motivation to push their ideal and ideologies on whoever they could push it on. That's pretty much the whole sum of this. These war gods, these histories and all this, it's all man's fanciful idea of what they could not understand at the time. And that carried on, not only through text and through oral tradition, but it just carried on. And all of that got construed until, like every war, whoever won the war, the victors go to spoils, and everybody started believing or were forced or just decided to believe in who was more powerful at the time.
Yeah, and that hasn't ended, because
that's never going to end.
Let me tell you a personal thing here. One of the things that irritated me in getting ready to go to Desert Storm, this is the first one in 90, is that in the Marine Corps, a lot of the what do we call them? Clergy? What do we call them, John?
Call who?
The preachers in the military.
Oh, we call them the pastor.
Oh, that's Air Force.
But this.
Whatever the clergy was called, I forgot what we call them.
The chaplain.
Thank you. Thank you. Many of the chaplains were preaching on Marine bases. I don't know about other bases or other units, but they were preaching that God is for the Americans and is against the Iraqis. Before we was deploying over to Iraq. So this mentality of God's having something to do with fighting battles and proof of God because we won, that's not stopped. That hasn't stopped. And then, like Ike was saying, as far as the sun disk or sun rays, you can find that in almost every culture, because almost every culture, before they understood the science, looked up, they knew that without the sun, life couldn't exist. So supreme deities often had the sun as their primary. So the sun disk is, and that's how you started it, Xavier. was talking about the evil, demonizing the sun rays behind him. But if you research almost any religion, you're going to find some veneration of the sun, right? It's not evil.
I wasn't demonizing the sun. I wasn't demonizing the sun. You misconstrued my words. I was demonizing the picture in front of the sun, because every time in every European cathedral there is a white Jesus Christ. His face, his body is in front of the sun, the actual sun that all religion is basically based off of, is worship of the sun. But for some
remember, the halo is around his head. It's not his body is in the sunlight. The halo is over his head.
One of these pictures. That's what I was trying to say.
I understand now. I understand that one, but I ain't gonna lie to you. You did say the sun that's demon. That's demonic having the sun.
I wasn't saying the sun was demon. Yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying.
Talking about
I got you now.
The painting of him.
I got you now, and of course, you know, even before Caesarea Borgia, there was Serapis, and so almost every group of people will make their god look like them. Only oppressed people are the only ones who don't accept the god of their oppressors.
Yep, and also this idea of good and evil. This
like she's Spanish in the comment with that Bible stuff.
Hold on, you interrupted Eric.
Also this idea of good and evil is basically the perception of what you choose to believe is good and evil. It's your perception of good and evil, or what you've been taught was good and evil. A wise man would tell you there's no such thing as good and evil. The only good and evil that exists exists in your head.
So wait, you're saying that good and evil is subjective or objective?
It's very subjective, and it's very relative to what you believe.
I don't know about that one, Eric.
That's what I believe.
I don't know about that one. I mean, let me ask you a question.
I don't think I can bite it in that apple.
Now, let me
That's subjective.
Now, I think the majority of things that we determine as good and bad or good and evil is subjective, but there are some core things that are just freaking evil. Anytime you take away someone's personal agency to live their life and be happy, you are that shit is evil, especially when it's against you. So essaying, can we all agree that essaying a child is evil?
It's evil. It's evil. It's evil. But guess what? But guess what? Guess what? The person that are unalive anybody, that's what they believe. So it's subjective to what they feel is right and wrong. It's all in that person's head, specifically that person individually. I'm not saying that everybody believes in the same form of good and evil. What I'm saying is that whatever you believe for yourself in your head, is good and evil, is subjective to your thoughts and your thoughts only.
Now, in that regard, yes. If you're talking about an individual person, yes, but as a whole of society, there are certain things that are just freaking evil.
Yeah, but that's part of the problem. A lot of people go with societal thoughts. Everybody wants to follow the next person, and the next person wants to follow the next person, and then that person breaks off, and then they're following these people. But everybody don't think individually. A lot of people don't think individually, because if we all thought individually, we'd come up with better solutions.
I think we actually all do think individually, but wait a minute, I might be wrong and all, so I ain't even gonna say what I was about to say, but again, even those people who are out there and they think that, you know what, essaying a child is fine with me. I guarantee when they were a child, they didn't want to be essaying.
Yeah, that's true.
So with that thought, in their true core, they know essaying a child is an objective evil. They just don't give a damn as an adult about doing it.
I could go with that.
That's why I say that there are a few, just a few, not a lot, you know, essaying somebody, murdering somebody, enslaving someone, stealing from someone. Those are things that nobody wants to happen to themselves,
Yeah.
Even if they go do it to somebody else and think they're right, they don't want it to happen to themselves. So they know intrinsically that that's a wrong thing.
Yeah, internally they know that it's not something. It's not a pleasant thing to do.
So
I can go with that.
So when we look at a book like the Bible, where this God is telling people, hey, it's okay for you to have a slave. It's okay for you to marry a 12-year-old. It's okay for you to sell your daughter into slavery. It's okay to genocide these people and these particular people make the little baby girls your wives, which is essaying them little girls. Those kind of things. You have a God that's telling you to do the very things that are objectively evil. Which
I don't know.
Somebody made earlier on TikTok, not in the comments, the book is evil.
I don't know, Coach. Let me back up a little bit. I don't know. Just because
let me hear Eric real quick.
Just because a person might say they don't want to be enslaved or they don't want to be killed, that still doesn't mean they don't think in their head that it's okay. It's not okay to do that to somebody else.
No, that's what I said. They'll still think it's okay to do to somebody else, but intrinsically they know it's evil because they wouldn't want it done to themselves. And that's the stance of objective morality, is that if there are some core things that nobody wants done to themselves, and if we were to stick with those core things, then and if we don't want it done to ourselves, we wouldn't do it to someone else. There wouldn't be slavery. There wouldn't be essaying of anybody. There wouldn't be thievery. You know what I'm saying? There wouldn't be murder. Because
that's why I didn't say like, no, we have objective good and evil and good for sure.
Yeah, but it's just very.
I'm on the fence about that. I'm really on the fence about that. I agree. Now I'm not saying I totally disagree with what you're saying. I'm just a little on the fence. I'm a little on the fence about that.
I get that, and there can be a lot of that, because you can look at any slave trade. Did the Arabs think that they should be enslaved? No. Did they think that they should be enslaving somebody else? Yes. So it will make you think that slavery is not an objective immorality. But the fact that they knew that they didn't want to be enslaved, that in itself lets them know that slavery should be wrong. But because of tribalism, ethnocentrism, racism, gender bias, or sexism, all of those things supersede what is right. You know, and we all do it. We all allow reasoning or emotion to supersede what we know is right.
Yeah. See, that's why I like this discourse, because that actually made me reevaluate my thoughts on that. So yeah, this discourse is on the money.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm trying to hold it together. Got a bunch of voices, different platforms, but we're gonna do this thing. I even went and got another cigar because I know we're going 3 hours.
Mr. Henry, I like to hear your input on that.
That Bible is evil. The God from that Bible is evil.
About what, my total aspect of the Bible?
No, about the conversation we just.
Evil that he's doing.
See, there's a lot of cross chatter going back.
Wait a minute.
Someone comes to you and say, "Well, why not worship this God in this Bible? Why not?
Wait a minute, start over.
Ancestors did. I mean, when you ask that question to yourself. You got to come up with an answer, because you like to converse with people.
Can you start that?
Okay, so he said that the Bible is evil and all of that. But when you tell someone that, they're gonna ask you, well, why shouldn't I stay in the Bible? What do you have to offer?
That is a very valid question that you do have to be able to answer, because I get it all the time when people say, okay, if not the Bible, since I'm deconstructing from the Bible, where do I go next? And this comes from people who are also in the process of deconstruction. They want something else after that, right? So, John, what would you offer them? I'm gonna throw it out there, people. I'm gonna ask each one of y'all, so I'm gonna go around.
Re-baseline it again, because I've heard everyone swing back and forth and move the goalposts to the narrative.
So when you whether you're talking to someone who's a believer or you're talking to someone who is deconstructing, and invariably they will say, if not Christianity, what should I believe then? What should be my replacement for Christianity?
The replacement for Christianity is reality. That's the thing that I always exist in, reality. Because again, I'll ask this question to the female caller. Outside of the Bible or empirical evidence, where in documented history did a man walk on water? And if you can answer that question truthfully and not disingenuously, you'll understand where the answer is. The answer lies in the reality that we experience, because no man has ever walked on water. It is impossible for anyone to walk on water. But the problem is that people have been told that you cannot utilize constructive thought. They want you to have faith, which means the belief in the non-existence. And believing is nothing more than the lack of facts and accountability. So I look at it from that perspective.
Ike, what would you give them? What would be your answer?
I will probably go back to the Bible and give him two verses. One of the verses, when the Pharisees came to Christ and said, show us the kingdom and the signs of this coming. Show us. And the response is that it's not a physical place that I'll show you. It doesn't come by observation. He said, show us the kingdom. I mean, because the whole drive is for the kingdom of God. And the person that Christians build their life around is saying, this kingdom is not something we can show you. First of all, he said, seek ye first the kingdom of God. Then now he's saying, then the people said, show us the kingdom. He said, it's not by observation. They said, where is it? He said, the kingdom of God is within you. Mm-hmm. So the whole message is concluded with that two verse. Seek that which is within you. Know yourself. The whole message is about knowing yourself. It's not the kingdom is not an observable thing that they'll say. You say, if they tell you no here or no there, don't ignore them. It's nothing you can tell somebody. That's the kingdom of heaven. It's somewhere in the sky. It's the kingdom of God. It's there. It's nowhere. It is within you. So the alternative that people should embrace is start knowing yourself. Everything, it's all about you. You are the center. Know yourself. Know yourself and understand the potentials. Everything is about you. As a human being, know thyself. That kingdom is within you. Then know yourself. That's all part of the things.
So, all right, Eric. So if the question is, when you're dealing with someone who's either Christian or deconstructing, they ask the question, well, if not Christianity, then what?
I agree with Mr. Henry, and I agree with the guy that just spoke. I would say research, utilize critical thinking to analyze any information and do it in a way that's logical and realistic. Because a lot of things that's been taught and a lot of things that you hear are ideas and ideologies based on what the next person is thinking. You have to formulate your own ideas and your own like the guy before was just saying, sense of self and identity, and be more aware of what's going on around you and within you internally.
But you got to remember now, Eric.
Wait. We're going around the table.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought this was rebuttal time. Forgive me.
Tom?
Yeah. It's a good question, but what I would advise someone for a foundation more so is probably maybe reading more for sure, because I do believe people do need a teacher. So maybe philosophical books with virtue ethics maybe, and as dude did say, reality, and just learning from like the human nature, natural law, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And maybe like a secular humanism type of teaching, you know what I mean? Or like treat others the way you'd want to be treated, basically, you know?
Okay.
So, yeah, I think reading would be definitely fundamental, and, you know, different teachers of those type of morals and ethics.
All right, Xavier, do I need to repeat? If I need to repeat the question, just let me know.
No, sir. Well, I feel like at the same time, like when it does come down to like religion, like Christianity and Islam, reality goes out the window. How can I explain it?
Now you got a person asking the question, what if not Christianity, then what do I believe in? Where do I go next?
Yeah, people need something to believe in. I would tell them that Sky Daddy ain't gonna save them. As they don't believe in anything but yourself and your own abilities, and do research on things. You feel me? That's what I would tell them.
And Miss Fifi, I started this.
Ooh,
Come on,
Lorenzo got another cigar.
Yeah, we're gonna go past 3 hours a little bit. That's about 45 minutes right there. Miss Fifi, you're on mute. Okay.
Yeah, I was just talking away, and I was wondering why you weren't reacting to what I was saying. But you know, I listen to all the guys, and they have very good concepts for what they would say. At least they know what they're gonna say, because that conversation will come up. Reality, you know, people are it's so hard to face reality. You probably go to a bar and get a drink once they all the information.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And then, you know, I was thinking about that. A lot of times when someone asks me about me and what I believe, I always direct them to the Bible. So, you know, I using the Bible to show them that the kingdom of God is within them. You've gone back and said God, and so you know their perception of God is relative. And then someone said reading. You know, if people read, we wouldn't be in town for this stuff.
Depends on what they read, though.
They don't read the Bible.
No, they don't.
I really don't have the answer.
Okay.
All I can say is to the person is that you know you're good enough, that you're a creation of this world, and you know you have to express yourself.
Mm-hmm. So
you know what will you choose to do?
Right.
I'm not going to give them heaven. I'm not going to give them hell. I'm not going to give them aesthetic energy. Right now, that's all we have is right now.
Nothing outside of yourself is gonna save you. I feel like nothing, no Sky Daddy, no entity outside of yourself is gonna save you. Like God is within you. You feel me? You are God.
So
like that's what we make it. Our reality is what we manifest. And I would like to know if y'all familiar with manifestation?
Hold on.
You're talking about a lot of things like manifestation. We talking about what we're gonna say to these people.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So let me answer it. Can I answer it?
Yes, sir.
Can I answer it? Because I didn't know if it was my show or Xavier's show. No, I'm just playing. But so this is something in the really I've been hardcore about this for the last 8 years. This channel actually was originally started for if I die, my children will have information from me. It wasn't about, no disrespect, it wasn't about none of y'all. All right.
I appreciate that.
But it has become that over the last 8 years. So I've had to deal with this question quite often. What would I tell? What do I do after if I walk away from Christianity or in my process from walking away from Christianity? A lot of the things you guys said is on par, but a lot of it is just the beginnings of the conversation or a more of a reproof against the religion that they are in or walking away from. I recognize that people are, for lack of a better term, sheep. they need to follow something. So you have to give them something with structure that they can follow that eventually leads them to self-discovery. So oftentimes I have people research philosophies like Plato, Socrates, Nietzsche, research the philosophies and understand life better. But for the most part, it is studying Hermetics and the Tao. The reason why the Tao is more of a philosophy and not a religion, although it has some religious connotation to it, because it does have a creative being that it calls the way, that is both feminine and masculine. It is, because sometimes it relates to it in the feminine, sometimes it relates to it in the masculine. But those 81 verses, sayings from the Tao are basic humanitarianism, right? It tells you in its first statement that if the moment you give the way a name, the moment you put it in a book, it is no longer the way. So the moment you try to encompass God in a book, give it a description, it ceases to be whatever. If you still desire a creator, what a creator would be, but it tells you about being just a good person. And then Hermetics teaches you how to look within yourself and recognize that you are the creator of your micro universe that you live in right now. Because all of us live in a micro universe, but we're just sharing our universes right now. But each one of those have structures for the persons to be able to follow. And that's what they would then need in order to move to the next step, where they don't need anyone else's structure but their own. So that's my little answer. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
No, on point. Hey, Lorenzo, ask a question here.
Wait a minute, what'd you say, Miss Fifi?
You said humanities in the Tao?
Right, the Tao Te Ching.
Okay, could you explain that? Because I don't know about that.
So the Tao Te Ching is supposedly written by a man named Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu was a devout Buddhist. In his study of Buddhism, Lao Tzu came to realize that there is a conscious state of being beyond Buddhism, that Buddhism still has its flaws. And in that, he decided that he wanted to just live by himself, because humans were getting on his nerves. A young soldier asked him to leave his wisdom before he left, so he wrote the Tao Te Ching. Now, we don't know if Lao Tzu actually existed or not, but we do have those 81 sayings. And in those 81 sayings, Lao Tzu is basically saying that the way to live your life is to get into the natural flow of how the universe works, how life works, that you are to try to do your best to be good to people and do right by people and not do them harm. But also, and in that, don't do yourself harm either. Take care of your families, take care of your community.
I have to stop you.
Uh-huh.
Because most of the information you just gave, I couldn't hear. It is impolite for people to not give up if they're not speaking.
Oh, somebody. Oh,
okay. So
yeah, stop making all that noise.
Thank you.
So, to repeat it to a certain degree, Lao Tzu supposedly wrote this treatise on how to live your life by getting into the natural flow of how pretty much energy and the universe functions. And he gave metaphoric examples, but he also was very direct in the fact that you take care of your family, take care of your community, take care of yourself. Try to be the best person that you can be towards yourself and towards your family. Getting into the flow of the way is really just getting into a knowledge of who you are, what your capabilities are, how society lives. Like he gave the example that a leader should be, that a good leader is a leader who is so good at making the people feel like they are the ones accomplishing the greatness of their society, that they don't even recognize the leader did it. So it's not about having the pride of I'm the leader and I did this thing and I brought you people to this promised land, but it's more of the people feeling like we did this together. And even though he's the leader, he didn't do shit, right?
Oh, really?
And when he talks about getting into the flow of the way, of the flow of how the universe functions, he tells the story of these men. There was this river, and every time somebody tried to cross the river, they were trying to get directly across from it. But the river was so strong that people would jump in the river, fighting the river to get over there, and they would all die. But then this old man jumps in there. They warned him. He floats away down the river. But then some hours later, they see the old man walking up the other side of the river on the bank, and he got to the point that he was trying to get to. They asked him how he did it. He said that instead of fighting the river, he just flowed with the river until it brought him across. And then he was able to cross the river, and he got and then walked up the bank. So he's saying that don't fight how things function to try to force your way into things, but just go with the flow of how things naturally are flowing, and you will eventually get to the other side and then walk your way back up to where you wanted to be.
Hey, Lorenzo, chat, hey, I've got to go, man. My tow truck is here.
All right.
So I'll catch up later, man. I've got a live I'm going to do later. I'll hit you back in email, man.
All right.
All right, chat. And to my two dissenters, I enjoy it. Staggy77 and Mighty Sarlacc, keep coming back. Take the layout. Peace.
Appreciate you, John. But that's basically what the Tao Te Ching teaches. So, and it's not you don't worship the way, you don't have to, it's not named, it's an unknown, because it cannot be defined, it cannot be measured. It's just an unknown, and we just look at nature and flow in the normal functions of nature. Right? It's kind of like, and if you use that in today's terms, if you wanted to save money, right, or if you wanted to be financially set up, right, most people don't look at their budget nor have a budget. But the way our society works, if you want to be in a good financial situation, you have to have a budget. That's the natural flow of being, being financially set up, because you're not spending more than what you bring in. So but most people are trying to fight it. I want to have what I want to have because I want to get to that particular side of the river, but I'm going to fight against it, and I still want to live my life the way I want to live it and have all the shit that I want to have, even though I'm over budget every month, and you wind up drowning in debt. What he's saying is go with the flow of things. Get a budget. Stay within your budget. And eventually, you'll have that savings. You'll have that nest egg. So that would be a Taoistic way of working your finances. So, same thing with a spouse or a loved one. Stop trying to force someone to be what you want them to be, and love them and you loving them how you receive love. Understand what is their flow of love. Who are they? Go with that, and eventually you'll get to that happy relationship with that person. So all his little sayings are just about living life in such a way that you're not fighting against life.
Basically finding patience and following the path of least resistance.
Yeah, follow the path. That's where that thought process comes from, is the Tao of following the path of least resistance. And you eventually get to where you want to be. And it doesn't require a God to do that. It doesn't require worship, sacrificing animals. If you ever read the Gospel of Thomas, have anybody read the Gospel of Thomas?
Yeah, the Gospel Gnostic book, right?
It's pseudo-Gnostic. It's somewhat Gnostic, somewhat not. But there's a saying in the Gospel of Thomas where the disciples were asking Jesus, how should we pray? How should we fast? How should we give? And he tells them, don't do what you hate, because when you do what you hate, you are outside the kingdom of God. So if you don't like to fast, don't fast. It ain't gonna, because you fasting when you hate fasting actually doesn't allow for you to receive the kingdom. As Ike was saying, the kingdom is within. It doesn't allow you to receive the kingdom, because now the whole time you fasted, you mad, you angry, you focused on the fact that you're hungry or thirsty. You're not doing this thing in a way that makes you better, or that connects you, to the ether. So instead, you figure out a way, like for me, meditation, I've been able to do much better in my life when I started meditating. Praying didn't do jack for me, you know.
Yeah.
So you, and in that's why I say the Hermetics and the Tao helps you find your own way into developing yourself, which goes back to what the majority of you guys were saying, is looking within self to find your own personal kingdom. Right?
Prayers don't go past your head.
Well said. Well said.
You actually believe that? Strangely, I've come to I've come to a conclusion that I feel like it's just the reality of it. I feel like you have people that just, Xavier was saying it too, that some people need a so-called God to believe in. As in, like, I feel like a lot of people, I don't know how to determine it, but like have a weaker state of mind, maybe, of like needing a coping mechanism. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why. Now, see, normally I would just give someone who doesn't require that, I would just give them Hermetics. But for people who still require some type of higher being, it is the Tao, because the Tao speaks of a higher being, but that higher being doesn't have requirements of the person. It doesn't require sacrifice, doesn't require worship. The moment you worship that deity, it is no longer the higher being, because you now defined it into a smaller box. So people who need that, I give them the Tao. And then because of the Tao, there's no slavery, women are equal, there's no essaying, no taking away of someone's agency. So it's devoid of all those things that we see as being evil in the Bible and most other religions.
If I could add just one more thing, and then I got to get out of here.
Okay,
I would recommend people start understanding the duality in all things. There's the definite duality in everything that you do and everything you see and everything you experience in life. So if you can get a better understanding of different avenues that certain things must go in, you know what I'm saying, which I call duality, then you'll get a better chance of which direction or which path might be better for you. If that makes any sense to anybody.
No, it makes perfectly sense to me, because in the Hermetics, that would be a combination of the law of rhythm, the law of polarity, and the law of vibration.
Exactly.
And the law of cause and effect.
Because isn't that like yin and yang?
Somewhat like yin and yang.
Somewhat, right?
But so yin and yang is saying that there is a duality in all things, but even within the thing, there is a pathway to the other side. So that fits into, and the Hermetic says that there's a law that everything exists on a pole. But first you have to understand what the pole is. Is it hot and cold, or is it just temperature? Is it good and evil, or is it just
there you go. There you go.
So when we first understand that the pole is morality, or the pole is temperature, then how our actions, our thoughts and our actions determine how we vibrate on that. If we vibrate fast or high, then we move closer towards the right, say good or hot. If we vibrate low, we move closer towards evil or cold. And then, but there are thousands of degrees in between. And we want to swing to one side and then stay on that one side, which is polarizing ourselves on one side, because as far as we swing to the right is as far as we can swing to the left, right? Like money is so easy. For an easy example, I've made $200,000 a year. I've made $27,000 a year. And I can look at what was my mentality, what were the actions I were taking, how was my mental and physical vibration going that moved me to the right towards the 200, and what was my mentality that was moving me to the left, and what was my vibration that moved me to the left. So you can swing back and forth. The key is getting to one side, and then the moment you see you start falling back, get busy going back to the right side. Actually, relationships is another good way of looking at it. You know what your spouse needs in order to feel love. If you're doing it constantly, consistently, you're going to move more to the side that they feel love. The moment you start slacking back and not doing it, that's when you start having problems in your relationship, because now your partner doesn't feel love anymore, and so you do stupid stuff. You know, I've been in that situation where I was all Mr. Romantic, and then I became Mr. Non-Romantic, and the relationship faltered. Right? So that's just how you. So I like Hermeticism because it teaches you how to look at life from that perspective. And then when it comes to what happens after life, nobody knows what happens after life. There's only educated guesses. Right?
Thank you for explaining that, Coach. It's been a pleasure talking to y'all, talking to all of y'all. I can't wait for the next discourse. Y'all take care of yourselves.
No problem. Next discourse will be on Monday at 12 noon.
I'll be there.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 12 noon. What was you about to say, Tom?
No, I was telling him peace. I was saying peace.
Yeah.
I would like to say something. Why does all logic go out the window when it comes down to worshiping a religion? because people need to believe in the unseen, the unknown. Like there'll be lawyers and doctors. Yeah, but as soon as you mention something about their religion, like how you were saying, a man walking on water. It's been proven that men can't walk on water. It has been scientifically proven that that's the case. So why does logic go out the window when it comes down to us worshiping these religions? That's what I want to ask.
Well, my answer would be indoctrination. First, you're indoctrinated into a religion, either directly by your family or by your community, or you're sub-indoctrinated by your surroundings. Then there's needing and wanting to belong, fear of not, you want to belong to the major group that everybody's following so that you don't feel like an outsider. Then there's the fear, that fear of going to hell. And I don't want to end my life and go to hell, or I need to know what's going to happen after life because I also fear death, right? And then I had the fourth one and fell out my damn head that quick. I had a fourth one, but I can't remember it right now. But yeah, that's just that indoctrination, that needing to belong, and the fear of the afterlife that will cause people to throw logic right out the window. Yeah.
And just a summary of that is like when you look upon like the actual properties of a human reading, it's not just a logical activity. It's based on like emotional, interpretive, and subconscious comprehension. You know what I mean? So
that was the fourth thing. Emotions was the fourth thing. Thank you. Emotions was my fourth thing.
Yeah.
That emotional connection, like somebody got some background noise.
Not me.
Yeah, it was Xavier. Your emotions can reason your way out of a logical thought. Like I was using about money, right? Logically, I did a seminar on finances. Everything that I told the people who was in that seminar, it was completely logical. Don't spend more money than you earn. This is how you fix your credit. This is how you maintain your credit. This is how you determine something that's investment worthy or not. All logical. Fear, emotions will cause you to not invest because you're afraid of losing money. Yep. Emotions will cause you to spend more money than you earn. Emotions will cause you to buy something just because you want it, but you really can't afford it. You will reason your way. You will emotionalize your way out of every logical thing if you allow emotions to control you. Even in love, your emotions can make you do dumb shit. Oh, she not taking care of me the way I want to. he's not taking care of me the way I want to. I feel like I'm not being treated right. You will emotionalize it instead of trying to look at the person and say, okay, why are they being this way? Why are, it's like I had to have, me and my wife just celebrated our anniversary yesterday. But we had this conversation some time back. And I'm not as romantic as I used to be. My wife understood why I'm not, because when I used to be incredibly romantic towards my first wife, but she wasn't giving me my return on the investment of my romanticism. After that relationship broke up, I developed the mindset of to hell with being romantic because it's not going to be appreciated. So why should I go through all that energy to be that guy that I actually like being if I'm just gonna be sitting here twiddling my thumbs and not getting what I want out of a relationship? So my emotions causes me to override my logical thought that my wife now is not the wife I had before. So why am I putting on her what happened in the past? So I have been going through the process, because I'm not all the way there yet, of seeing her for who she is, seeing her as, if I want to be with this person, I need to up my game.
Yeah.
Because my emotions, and those same type of emotions is what keeps people stuck in these religions. If I know this stuff is jacked up in the Bible, there's contradictions left and right. Matthew and Luke can't be both right. But because my emotions of fear of hell and the fact that I've been told about this Jesus, I gotta stay here no matter what. So let me emotionalize some reason why there's not contradictions. Let me rationalize the genocide. Let me rationalize the slavery, and all of that is based on the emotions of fear of hell, fear of death, and fear of being an outcast.
So this is the next question now. If there's, do you think in someone, do you think that it's a mental disorder, or do you think it's possible for people to actually break out of those type of logical reasoning or emotional reasoning? Like, is there emotions based on, like, biologically they're not able to, or is it just you get what I'm saying?
It's choice. It's pure choice. There's no, we biologically are going to have emotions, but it is by choice that you allow your emotions to supersede your logic. Now, emotions have their purpose, but when any one of them are running out of control, even when your logic is running out of control, it's too damn, it could lead you to your demise. So it is creating a balance between the two and knowing when to use one over the other. A lot of people who practice the meditation and chakras will talk about, and even in Hermetics, this is your feminine and your masculine side fighting against one another. The thing is to balance those two into harmony so that you can function properly in each situation. So it's not a mental disorder, it's just choice and self-knowledge. Sigmund Freud, and let me tell you how people have messed this up. When Sigmund Freud talked about the ego, now if I were to say to you or anybody, and it's common to say, oh, they just being egotistical, that actually should be a compliment, but they're using it wrong. The id is your basic instinct that is all selfish as hell. The superego is you following what everybody else thinks is the right thing to do. Your ego is trying to balance between the superego and the id so that you are functioning in a balanced format. So it is not the ego that's messing people up, it's the id or the superego that messes people up.
You said was the author of that? You said who?
Sigmund Freud.
Sigmund Freud.
Can I say something else? Another thing that I noticed, right? All of us are deconstructing from religion, right? not like it's like you can't even bring up the subject of, you know, because they try to push their religion on you, but soon you have a rebuttal for them about their Jesus Christ. They don't even understand the reason why they want to kill you. Like they literally want to bring harm to you. Family members, I done experienced this from family members, friends, pastors. That even like one day I was walking to the store, and a pastor told me to come to church with him. I told him I don't believe in that stuff. The next day I seen that same pastor. He putting up like gun. He had he had his hand in the form of a gun, like shooting at me. I'm like, well, a pastor supposed to do that? Like, why do our people don't understand? I feel like that religion is evil and it brings out the worst in us not knowing. That's just my personal opinion.
No, I don't believe that, because I have seen, I have seen great, even black leaders that were Christian. You know what I mean? Like I've seen black Marcus Garvey or religious Malcolm X. So I can't really say. I think it just depends on the person, to be honest.
Yeah. Malcolm X believed in Muslim, but at the same time, I'm just saying, like, even my people, righteous people, these are good people that love me, my older family members. As soon as I tell them that I don't believe in Jesus Christ, they're ready to fucking cut. Excuse my language. They're ready to cut me off. A couple of men were ready to fight me when I told them I don't believe in Jesus Christ. Well, they like, F you, Xavier. If you believe in the devil, I'll kill you. What you telling me you'll kill me for, my brother, just because I don't believe in what you believe in, bro? That's why I say that Christianity brings out the evil in us that we don't even know. So that we don't recognize.
So what you're talking about is a common thing that when oftentimes when I'm doing life coaching with someone who's deconstructing, in that process of deconstructing, many of them have the story of being cut off by their families, being called all kind of names, violence enacted upon them, separation. It is a common thing. It's more common than you think, Tom, because the thing about it is that, for one, their book tells them to do so to a certain extent. It doesn't tell them to kill you, but when you look at Romans, I think it's Romans 12. I'm not sure, but I know it's somewhere in Romans. It talks about the fact that if another Christian is doing something wrong, then you go and you approach them, and they don't listen to you and repent, then you bring them to the church, the church elders. If they still don't repent, then you bring them to the church. If they still don't repent, then you shun them. This is why J-Dubs and SDAs and Mormons and all them shun people, right? And the Catholics have declare you a heretic. So the shunning is something that they learn from the practice of their religion. The violent part comes about because they're not taking it as you are attacking the religion, you are attacking the Bible or Jesus. They take it as you are personally attacking them. And because they feel you are personally attacking them, they want to now attack you physically and do you harm. And thank you for the roses, Miss Fifi. But that's why you get the violent reaction, is because they feel a personal attack.
Yeah, so basically they feel like when I tell them I don't believe in your God, don't pray for me. You feel me? They take that as a personal attack. Oh, you don't believe in whatever I believe in, so you are a bad person. That's basically what you're saying?
Yeah. And they think that the only reason you want to walk away from their Jesus is because you want to go out there and sin and you want to do evil things. But they don't.
I just want to let it be known, just because I'm not a religious person doesn't mean that I'm a bad person.
Yeah, I mean,
that I'm a heathen, that I'm a heretic.
I mean, you are a heretic to their religion, but you're not. But the question is getting them to understand that you're not evil towards society. You know, most of the prisons are filled with Christians and Muslims in America. They are the largest two groups in prison.
So it's the ghetto.
And you go to the hood, most people who commit crimes in most Western countries are Christians. So it is not.
I was going to ask you. So I don't mean to cut you off. I was going to ask you, do you see the correlation of what I was talking about when I said earlier that these people used to go to church and worship Jesus Christ. Right after church, they go and have a picnic, find a Negro to hang, cut his genitals off, stuff like that. There, like I feel like the religion, not unconsciously pushes evil into your heart, into your mind by even worshiping it, and you not knowing.
Okay, I want you to go do. I want you to go do research on the word picnic first. It doesn't. That thing that Americans came up with is not true. It's a French word, and it just means to.
Yeah, it's a French word. I know.
That just means to eat outside on a blanket, basically. It has nothing to do with Black people and what was happening in America with lynchings and things of that nature. But did people do that? Yes. But people were doing that superseding their religion. Racism is stronger than religion. Oppression is stronger than religion. All people do is take their religion and figure out a way to add it to the oppressive things that they are doing. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's just like you'll find Christians will often say about slavery and women's rights that it was Christians who were abolitionists. It was Christians who supported women's rights. These were people who already decided that slavery was wrong. They decided that women deserve rights. And so they then go and find something in their religion that they can try to use to support their position. So
to justify the evil.
Right, because the Bible clearly demonstrates that women do not have rights and that slavery is condoned. But they'll find something where it says treat everybody the way that you want to be treated. Oh, see, that's the Bible saying that women should have rights and that slavery is wrong.
Those were the slaves, though. They was only really preaching that to the slaves, all that non-violence, turn the other cheek stuff. So it's like I feel like by us worshiping their deity, we're turning our backs on each other, on our ancestors, and that's the reason why we're killing each other right now, and why these people are living prosperous, because we're worshiping the same thing they're worshiping, but they're prospering while we're suffering. And I feel like the reason why we're suffering and why we kill that's just my correlation of things.
Yeah, but I mean, before religion, any era of history you want to go to, people have always been unaliving each other, tribal issues. It's been like that, to be honest. And they do say, like, even for, it's a different type of slavery, but even in Africa, in Europe, they've had that as well. They enslaved each other and all of that, you know what I mean? So, well, you're right.
That's a common misconception. Black folks did not practice the transatlantic chattel slavery, and we did not practice the Muslim slave trade.
No, Xavier. Xavier. Hold on, Tom. I got this. Xavier, you have got to do more research without having a predetermined landing spot. If you did more research, you will see that, just for an example, the Dahomey tribe practiced chattel slavery towards the Wayuta tribe, and then they sold the Wayuta.
They were selling them, yeah.
No, they not only were selling them, even before they ran into the Dutch, they were enslaving people from the Wayuta tribe and making them chattel slavery in their society. This is why they didn't have a problem selling them to the Dutch. All right? People have been enslaving people of different tribes as long as they've been around. The Anglicans, the English enslaved the Irish and the Scottish. They didn't care. They saw them different. It wasn't until the papal bull written by Nicholas IV, I think, or the Fifth, that he then instructed the Spanish and the Portuguese that they are to go to West Africa, enslave them, Christianize them, and then take them all throughout Europe and then over into the Americas. So, but the situation that we're in now, does religion play a part? Yes, but is religion the reason? No. The
human nature.
The human nature of money, of those European nations finding the Americas and then seeing the prosperity that they can have. And they did the same thing in India as well, and Africa. Their prosperity is what caused them to do that. Well, not just prosperity, need, because the land of Europe didn't provide enough substance for the amount of people that they had, so they had to venture out. So they developed technologies faster than most of the rest of the world. When they did that, they saw themselves as superior, and they took what they wanted from the natural resources. And one of those resources back then was people. That conquering was all economic and necessity for them. And because of that conquering, they utilized different tools like religion to keep the people subjugated to their need of conquering and resources. So the main reason why, like in America, Black people, for instance, are on the lower part of the poverty scale and the power scale is because we haven't developed as a group the need and then the technologies and the reasoning to prosper. And that's just really the answer to that. If we develop the need, okay, so we had a need when they forced integrate, what is it called, Jim Crow? You had Wilmington, North Carolina, Tulsa, where Black people couldn't go to anybody else's business, so we thrived in our own businesses. Yes, they massacred the people in Tulsa, they massacred the people in Wilmington, right? So, but that wasn't about religion, that was about racism and economics, especially in Wilmington, because that was the largest city in North Carolina at that time frame. And Black people owned all the land that's in downtown Wilmington back then, that's right along the river. And they were making money hand over fist. Poor white people was like, hell no. And they had a voting block where they produced senators and things of that nature. So they were losing power. And they said, hell no, we can't lose our power. And as far as like fighting back, you can only fight so much when you're fighting against a centralized government. You know, it takes a hell of a lot to defeat a centralized government. But
just feel like religion made us weak as a people. We're waiting on somebody to come save us instead of us saving ourselves.
It was a tool
from our own demise.
It's a tool. I'll grant you that. It is definitely a tool that has been used to do that. The whole turn the other cheek, love your enemy, the whole thing of whatever government you was born under is the one that God placed you under, and you should pray for your leader. All those are tools to keep oppressed people in a state of oppression. But people rise out of, anytime you've seen people rise out of that is because they got tired of the oppression, right? So in the 60s, what you saw was the American government said it's a powder keg, like Malcolm said, that America was sitting on a powder keg and it's about to explode because people were in the 50s and 60s started getting tired of the oppression. So they mitigated it with integration. They mitigated it with civil rights laws. And it's like Miss Fifi said she was a psychic nurse. She's a retired psychiatric nurse. I don't want to just say psychic nurse because that could go somewhere else in somebody's mind. But so as a psychiatric nurse, I would imagine, because I don't know everything about that field, but I would imagine if a person is going into a surgery and they have a lot of stress, the surgery most likely, there's a higher chance of surgery going wrong. If you can alleviate the pressure of that stress, then the surgery has a possibility of going better. The possibilities of it going better goes up higher. Those in control know, they recognized in the 60s that they got to release some of the pressure. The French didn't release some of the pressure, and so they had the French Revolution, right? They just wanted to keep the status quo. So America has done a good job, honestly, of releasing enough pressure to keep oppressed people from revolting. And did I have that right about psychiatric nursing, Ms. Fifi?
Yes, that was about something else that we were talking about, but I think
we've passed that. But yeah, that's the first thing that they grab onto when they come in and they can't explain that this person had their first break, especially when they've invested so much money, because the ages between 18 and 30 are the ages that people will get schizophrenia or develop schizophrenia or other organic brain problems. So, but the thing about it is the family come in and they're talking about God, and then the patients, they're reaching for the Bible. And it's a world of what is going on here. Yeah.
And there was a recent study that was done. I forgot who did the dang on study. But a recent study was done that demonstrated that prayer doesn't help people going through medical issues. And if anything, it demonstrated that oftentimes when a person knows that people are praying for them or that they are praying, that their surgeries or whatnot go more towards the left. It goes wrong. And that's because they develop anxiety when they're praying, because they actually have doubts about their prayers, doubts that it's going to happen, because conditioning has taught them that they've prayed for 1,000 things and only got 10. So they know that the overwhelming majority of their prayers are going to get not answered, or the answer is no. So that
I was going to ask. So that's the thing. I'm sorry.
Both of y'all can't talk at the same time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that's the thing that I've been trying to come to grasp with is praying, like, because that's what I always do. And like I seen one thing. I seen something on TV one day about it was like a little black boy talking to a white police officer, and the white police officer told that little black boy, "Your prayers ain't gonna get past your head." And I like to pray, but it's like what am I praying to, and should I even pray? Because what's the use of praying if my prayers are not gonna get answered? You get where I'm coming from? So it's something. What should I do? What is the alternative other than praying? That's basically what I'm asking.
If you're asking me, it is to meditate, see where you want things to be, and then reverse engineer it to the actions that are necessary in order to get to wherever you want to be, whether that's a physical or mental or financial relationship thing, no matter what it is. Reverse engineering the landing point gets you there. Now, how you reverse engineer it, every step may not get you there, but as you take more steps towards it, the pathway does reveal itself, right? And the meditating is really just sitting there thinking about it. Like, if you're saying to yourself, I want to be a millionaire. Well, what talents do I have? What's available to me that I can start moving in that direction? And then you start moving in that direction. And it's not going to go exactly how you plan it out. I've owned too many businesses to know shit don't work exactly the way you want it to. But then you just continue to navigate, adjust your plan, and maintain a state of constant meditation towards that. And real quick, I want to answer a question that is on YouTube. Brown is saying, how do I deal with talking to my mother and sister, but I don't like dealing with prayer? How do I deal with that? The thing about it is evaluate. I don't know your mother and sister, so it's a little bit more difficult, or I don't know much about them to give you that advice to pinpoint it. But if they are amenable to it, then you just explain where you stand, how you got to where you stand, and you ask them to respect your agency to have that thought process. But if they're unwilling to accept it, and he's getting ready to come on, if they're unwilling to accept it, then you might have to just limit your contact with them. And always remember that family ain't blood. Family is how people treat you. So if somebody doesn't want to respect who you are, what you think, how you develop, they ain't your family. That's just people who happen to be in your your genealogy. But does that answer your question, Brown? Since you're on.
Yeah, my fault. I didn't even catch that. Hi, my fault. First off, let me start off by saying, hey to everyone. I've been sitting here listening to y'all all day.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't even able to catch what you were saying because I was trying to. My phone is slow. Like it's one of those raggedy phones, like you like to say.
Well, what I was don't be learning my sayings. What I was saying was that depending upon the mentality of your mother and your sister, but it all boils down to whether or not they're going to respect your stance on things or not. If they don't want to respect your stance on things, then you may have to distance yourself from them. And although it's very difficult because blood relations causes us to feel some type of emotional attachment to people, blood is not family. Family is how people treat you. And if somebody doesn't respect your beliefs or your thought process and still love you, they're not your family. So I would just tell them up front, this is what I think. I don't follow Christianity, but this is how I think. This is the person that I am, and y'all know the person that I am. If you cannot love me still or be family to me, then we just won't be family. It'll hurt, but I know this sounds simple and kind of mean. You'll get over it. They may not, but you'll get over it because you'll find family. Because some of my friends are better family to me than my family. And I got a big ass family, like about 50, 60 of us go on vacation every year. But I got friends who are better family to me than the majority of the people that I'm going to spend this weekend with. You understand? So you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. And see, I got another question, or another thing I'm dealing with. Like, I got nieces and nephews.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know by the way I was growing up, like now that I'm at the age of, well, I'm 39 and I got this mentality like I'm reading the Bible. Well, I haven't read it in like a couple of weeks, but I don't want them to go through what we've all gone through when we start realizing the Bible is basically a bunch of shit, bullshit. And then it's like me growing up, I started seeing stuff like, for example, they always say love thy neighbor or don't cast stones and stuff. When Michael Jackson had passed away, the preacher was up there in the pulpit or whatever, and he said, I bet you Michael Jackson can't moonwalk his way into heaven now. I'm like, wait, hold up. You don't be saying, didn't y'all just say a couple of days ago, don't be casting stones? Like, y'all people are contradicting yourselves. And I don't want the next generation growing up going through that torment. So how do I go about handling that?
Well, it depends on how much confrontation you're willing to deal with. Because these are nieces and nephews and not your own children.
Yeah, I got my son. I don't want to forget about him. He's a Christian. So I'm dealing with his mother and stuff like that. I know that's going to be a battle coming up.
Well, to your son, I would definitely say I would go very direct to him and just teach him what you know, or show him where the issues are. Right. With the nieces and nephews, you can do this very same thing, but you will probably face a lot of pushback as well from their parents. But with my nieces, nephews, and cousins, I let them know where I stand. And then as they start seeing things for themselves, some of them have come to me, right? Others, not so much, but some come to me. But with my own children, I still tell them directly the bullshit that's in the Bible, right? And none of my children and they have a mother who's Christian, but none of my children are Christian. And because my children aren't Christian, their mother softened in that realm. Not because of me, but because of them. Because the children because she didn't want to lose the kids, their affections. But nieces and nephews are just a little bit more difficult and different because they're not your children. But show them, but tell them it's no harm in. You can tell them, just be ready for the fight. And as long as you can defend it, then the children may not side with you now, but just like when you got a parent who talks shit about their other parent when they're divorced, when the child gets older, oftentimes they see the bullshit that the negative parent was saying. Unless what they were saying was true, but oftentimes they'll see it. And this younger generation is walking away from religion faster than anybody else.
Yeah, they damn sure is.
Yeah, so just tell them and show them if you can deal with the confrontation.
Yeah, but yeah, you got them old folks, and no offense to the older generation that's probably listening, but you know how the older generation is still in that there and that's believing in the Bible.
Well, true, but you know the next biggest group that's leaving the churches, leaving religion, are people in their 50s and 60s. They are recognizing the bullshit as well, because I mean, if you be honest, the pastor wasn't wrong in his teachings, because he was teaching. If he said that Michael Jackson can't moonwalk himself into heaven, we know that Michael Jackson, he grew up. Don't know if he continued to practice Jehovah's Witness, but as far as if you're not Jehovah's Witness, other Christians don't think Jehovah's Witnesses are going to heaven. And Jehovah's Witnesses themselves don't think that they're going to heaven. They think that the 144,000 will go to heaven. The rest of them will live on a new earth and with a new body on earth in the New Jerusalem.
Yeah, I phrased that wrong when I said that about the Michael Jackson thing, but that was just like, it was just straight talking trash about Michael. Like, and I'm like, we're not supposed to be casting stones. We're just supposed to say, may that man rest in peace. And
well, that's cultural. That's cultural. If you read the writings of Paul, you are supposed to judge and cast stones. If you read what the other authors are claiming Jesus said, then you're not supposed to cast stone and judge. So most Christians, though, are following a Paulinian form of Christianity. So they're going to judge.
Yeah, just like you just said that right there. Yeah, that's why I don't want to deal with the damn shit, because like there's too many damn. It's just you got to go back and forth with stuff. Like right there, didn't even know, me myself, I did not know that Jesus said one thing, then Paul said another thing. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, Paul and Jesus contradict each other quite often, especially when it comes to baptism, when it comes to salvation, and when it comes to how you should live your life, when it comes to whether or not you should follow the law. Both they contradict in all four of those subject matters and more. And no, I've never been JW resistance. I just studied them for a while. But yeah.
I was gonna say, she said something about medication. What do you mean, ma'am, about I should take medication? What you mean by that?
They just throwing daggers, man. They just throwing daggers. You have to realize that when you disagree, like you were saying earlier, Xavier, when you disagree with people, if they feel you're emotionally attacking them and not their religion, which they feel that them and their religion are one and the same, then they want to attack you on a personal level. Right? So I get personal attacks all the time from people who are believers. They'll personally attack me about my cigars. They'll attack me about shit, my skin tones, the darkness around my eyes, everything. So I just shake it off. I see we got a new person, Joseph James. You there, Joseph James? Can't hear you. Joseph. No. No.
Hey, I can't talk anyway, man. I'm at work. My phone's in my pocket, so I guess you just pop it down. I'm listening to you, though.
I can't hear you, though.
Oh, okay. Well, just drop me, man. Just drop me.
Okay, I appreciate you, though.
All right, I'm listening, though.
Yeah, he said his phone in his pocket. He
Yeah.
said his phone in his pocket. He at work.
Oh, that's what he said? Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so when people, like we were talking earlier, you attack when you say something against it, like people claim that I'm slandering Jesus. I'm not slandering Jesus. I'm just saying what exactly he's claimed to have said.
The facts.
But they don't like it, so then they lodge their personal attacks. And you can't take it personal. You just got to let it go and realize that.
And the thing is that Jesus doesn't even care. Jesus doesn't care that you're slandering him. It's the people, the soldiers of Jesus, that care more about what you're saying more than Jesus, because God has to defend himself, not people. You're not going to defend God. God is his own interpreter. I remember back in the day, as a young Christian, there was this hymn: God is his own interpreter. God will fight for himself. God, if God is going to fight for himself, defend his word, why do people care if I slander him or not? Let him defend himself. Another thing about it, why do people care if you're going to heaven or hell? I mean, salvation is supposed to be personal.
Mm-hmm.
If it is that personal, why do you care? Oh, you will see in the end, like they're threatening you, or you will see when you're born in hell. If I'm burning in hell, it doesn't add anything to the stars on your crown. If I'm in heaven, you don't get anything. I mean, even in heaven, the way we understand heaven, is that there's not going to be sorrow there. If there's not going to be sorrow, that means that we're going to be devoid of emotion, even memory. So you're going to be there like a glorified zombie without a will, without memory. So why do you think it's going to matter to you about your family members that didn't make it or whatever? Because there won't be sorrow. So your personal will is going to be hijacked from you. Everything about Christianity is beautiful story that are better told to children and repeated until we grow up. Then you're conditioned to believe it. Because once you start asking questions, it just, what's the reason for the flood? Who was the reason for the flood? Noah's flood. And they said, they wanted to remove the giants, the hybrid, and the people that were bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the giants. Further down in the Bible, Joshua, everybody, they equally encountered the Anakims, the sons of Gath, Goliath. Goliath was an Anakim, the same giants that God removed in Genesis appeared 200 years later. We still saw the giants, so he did not succeed. If he wanted to wipe the world of sin, sin still came back. So we have a God, and a so-called omnipotent God, that is so frustrated with his creation, he doesn't even know how to deal with the problem. He wiped everybody out, like a little kid gets angry and spoils his toys. He wipes everybody out and says, okay, then 100 years later, giants came back, sin came back and said, okay, I'm going to threaten you guys. In the end, I've sworn by my name, I will not change. But we know everything he says about his name, he changes. Said, God neither changes, he neither changes. Oh, but he has changed everywhere in the Bible. Have I said my word and will it not come to pass? We've seen several thousands of his words that didn't come to pass. Tyre, yes, like you mentioned Tyre. Tyre is one of the oldest cities in the world. In the Old Testament, God swore, he said, I, God, have sworn by my name. This Tyre will be laid desolate and nobody will occupy it. People are still occupying Tyre up till tomorrow morning. It's one of the oldest city in the world. So the glory of this later house shall be better than the former. Oh, we know that the second house that was built wasn't better. I mean, so all the stuff that they are claiming in the Bible, I used to claim it. I used to make those promises. I used to, when I'm praying, your watch shall not come. All that, is a mental way that Christians, hang on to when we are pursuing things that are becoming elusive. Once we anchor it on that Christian belief, we think it's going to happen. It doesn't happen. Everything we get in this life, maybe how steadfast we are, the skills we've acquired, the relationships that we've developed. That's the network of ours, because it's our friends that are going to recommend us when the things have been negotiated. They say, oh, I know this guy, I can do it. Or Xavier can do it. It's people, nobody, it's not your prayer. It's not that you prayed and an angel came out from heaven. No, it's human relationship. Everything we achieve, there's no miracle. It's not a miracle, because, I mean, look at the hospitals. They can go and empty the hospital for us if it works, if the miracles are. It only happens on TV, in the churches, on television, crusade, and it happened in the Bible. None of them, it doesn't happen where we can like put it through the test, Pastor Benny Hinn, look at this man. He said he was blind. Now he can see. Yeah. Oh, praise God. And he said, yes, I was blind. I have not been seeing. And you just prayed and I heard it and it hit me. It's all those movie script writers. They just emotional things, roller coaster, crescendo. That's all it's all about. It's the greatest story that ever was told. It's a story. Once we make it more than a story, then they got us. Thank you.
Yep. So with that, I lied. At the beginning of this podcast, I said I was not going 3 hours like we did yesterday. It has been 4 hours. So I guess I kind of told the truth, but lied at the same time, because I said I wasn't going this long. But with that, I want to go ahead. I got to go. I got to end the show.
Hey, Coach, before you go, your cigars, are they organic and if, how can I get some? Do you sell?
My cigars are all organic. Most cigars are that way. But yes, they're all organic, rolled by my wife, Angelina. Yay. So just go to email me and we'll go through the process. I'm typing the email right now.
So yes, sir, it was a blessing talking to all of y'all, man.
Yeah,
for real.
So just email me at the email address I just posted, and I'll give you the pricing for the cigars and everything, and then you can order them, and we'll get them shipped out to you. So I appreciate everybody for being here. We are having a meetup in San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. If you go to the link, if you go to any of my lives, my recent lives, there's a link in the description for the hotel. There's free, the hotel offers a free breakfast and a free supper. So they'll save you on some food costs. There's everything else I've set up for the live is going to be in places that are free for us to gather, talk, and have fun. I don't just want to talk. I want to have fun too. That'd be boring if we just talked all day. So if you'd like to join us October 31st through November 2nd, please go to the link and reserve.
San Antonio, that's like a few hours from here. I'm in Houston. Yeah.
Oh, you in Houston? Yeah. I'm in
Houston.
I'm in San Antonio, so you ain't got no excuse.
No, I'll make it.
You ain't got. I'll make it. So go to my YouTube. My YouTube is at Coach Renz, RENZ, the number 33. At Coach Renz, the number 33. We have until the 29th of September to reserve enough rooms to maintain the deal. So I need y'all to reserve them damn rooms now. I don't like waiting to the last minute. But other than that, I appreciate everybody. I always remember.
I will say, sir, this is my first time ever on a TikTok live, man. I'd be on another app called Bigo. Yeah, man. So it was nice to have a refreshing conversation with intellectual people, man. Real.
It's my pleasure. And we go live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 12 noon, usually for 2 hours. But every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 12 noon. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. Continue to like and subscribe to the channel, especially my YouTube channel. Continue to like and subscribe to those and share the video. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations, and I'm out.
All right, everyone. Have a good day.
T, baby. Bar2. T, I don't know how to say her name. Pt.2. Pt.2, I just want to...
I just want to say, I'm ending the thing. too much I just want to say we done.